bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oh, yeah. Well, Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Let's do this. Today is Tuesday, December 20th. 355 days into the new year. Just 11 days left. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is crackin'? Yeah, man. All right. With that, on this very special broadcast tonight and heading into the Christmas weekend, tonight we welcome back John Burroughs. That's right. John Burroughs is here. Rendlesham Revisited. We're going to, a lot of things happened with Rendlesham this year. So we're going to visit all of those, right? We're going to talk about the original event and its significance. We're going to go through it all tonight with John, who was there. Tomorrow night, Micah Hanks is going to be here, the one and only Micah Hanks. Thursday night is another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by open lines all night long. We're going to open up the phone lines tonight, by the way, for everybody that would like to speak with John about Rendlesham or anything else. If you've had any experiences or anything that you want to talk to John about, we will do that. All right. And check this out. Next Wednesday, Lori McDonald is going to be here to do a full night of the Mandela Effect. Yeah. So we're going to run through all of it. One of the big, stories that broke this year is the Mandela Effect. So we're going to do that next week and take your phone calls, and we'll talk about the Mandela Effect all night long. Okay? Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Simple enough, at JChurchRadio, Facebook, YouTube, everything's Fade to Black, Jimmy Church Radio. You know what to do. Go follow, like, and subscribe. Go over to the website. Do it. You can email throughout the show tonight, Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. And the sandbox on Twitter is hashtag F2B. Any questions or comments throughout the show tonight for myself or Mr. Burroughs, use hashtag F2BQ. We also have the chat rooms over at KGRA and Spreaker. So any way that you want to get involved tonight and stay interactive, you can do it. All right. Happy holidays to all of us, to you. Not only from us, but from our sponsors. Please visit all of them for great gift-giving ideas. Life Change Tea, the one and only Ronnie McMullen. GetTheTea.com. Just go to the banners over at Jimmy Church Radio. Use the promo code Jimmy when you order, either over the phone or online. You're going to get free shipping. River Moon Coffee. You just got a fresh shipment today into the bunker, by the way. Nothing like River Moon Coffee. And I'm going to say this. All right. I don't know if this is the right way to talk about coffee, but it's the thing that, the reason why we drink it besides the taste. This stuff is fully jacked, man. It is fully caffeinated. I have never had the fog lifted like today. A fresh bag of beans. River Moon Coffee. Just use F2B Blend for the promo code when you order. You're going to get 15% off. The banners are right there at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Also, Studio Dome and the Fader Not Special, 2 SBB2 speakers, a stereo wireless Bluetooth system for just $129. Great gift-giving idea right there. And then Zipa. So today I got a second pair of glasses, right? I'm wearing them right now. No, I'm not going to post a picture. It ain't going to happen. No. But I'm wearing those glasses right now. And I see perfect, right? It's just one of those things. I'm in denial that I need glasses, that I'm getting old, right? Just in denial about it. I just don't want to do it, right? Ask my eye doctor. I go, dude, what about LASIK? Nope, not for what you got. Wow, man. Do I really got it? Yeah, I got to, and I'm wearing them right now. But anyway, so I'm over there today picking up the new script. And on the monitor in the waiting room is a Zipa commercial. Right? I was like, wow. So with my new glasses on, as I'm testing them out in the doctor's office, I'm watching a Zipa commercial. Yeah, Zipa, ZYPPAH.com. Stop snoring now. I did, and I am. Get yours, ZYPPAH.com. Banners are over at Jimmy Church Radio. All right, so yeah, I'm wearing glasses. I got my first pair a couple of months ago, and those were for like really close stuff, right? Really close. But, I just 3 feet away, 2 feet away, 3 feet away, I've got 5 monitors right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here in the studio. Can't see them. So with the other script, I would have to get like 12 inch. So I wasn't wearing those glasses for this. And he was like, dude, you just got to quit fighting it, and I was acting like it was okay. Well, it just wasn't. So now I've got the new ones on and I can see everything in front of me. It's really funny. Zipa. So I got to see Zipa in full color today. All right. And then the big conference of the season is coming up. Conscious Life Expo, February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton. We will be broadcasting from the Plaza Ballroom on Friday the 10th. Be hosting the Ancient Aliens panel on Saturday. Just go and click on the banner right now over at JimmyChurchRadio.com for tickets and info. Speakers do include David Wilcock, Corey Good, Richard Dolan, Linda Moulton Howe, David Hatcher-Childress, George Norrie, Mike Barron, Nassim Haramain, Lori McDonald, Jason Martell, Sean Stone, William Henry, Danny Sheehan, Whitley Strieber, Danny Brinkley, Laura Eisenhower, Del Bigtree, Lisa Garr, on and on and on. All right. And we really want to hang out with all of you. The broadcast for Fade to Black, man, that is free to the public, right? In the Plaza Ballroom. So let's pack. It's a huge, huge venue. You could put a lot of people in there. So come on and hang out. All you got to do is just show up and, get some tickets. But that's it. This is free. You just walk right on in and come and hang out with all of us. If you get there early, and you poke your head in, maybe Rita will let you in and check out the sound check. How's that? All right? Deal. We'll see you at the Conscious Life Expo. All right. Happy birthday to, let's get the show cracking. Happy birthday to, are you ready? Kiss Stickman, Peter Criss. Yeah. Today is 71 years old. Does he make the list today because of playing drums, being the cat in Kiss, or for singing Beth? Hey, I'm just saying, right? Remember Kiss Alive 2 when that album came out and you opened it up and it had that huge flaming explosion, double wide shot of Kiss, right? Okay, and you put on the album. You kind of skipped over a few tracks because you wanted to get to Peter Criss singing Beth live. Remember that? The violins, the tape playing in the background. Today, Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill. I like Jonah, so just calm down. He's funny. Jonah Hill today is 33 years old. Man, pretty good career by the age of 33, right? On this day in history. All right. This is one of my favorite parts of the show. And I love educating all of you. Edumacation, right? On this day in history, take out your pen, write this down, and go check this guy out. Because you don't know Clyde Stubblefield. 1969. Yet you'll hear Clyde Stubblefield's drumming on everything. TV, movies, commercials, and just about every famous rap song ever. How about Eric B. and Rakim's Lyrics of Fury? Remember that? Oh, Mark, that's awesome. That's exactly the shot that I'm talking about. Kiss Double Live. Look at that. Kiss Alive 2. That was a rock concert. Man, I used to open up that album. I would listen to Kiss Alive 2 with headphones on and open up the album and just stare at it. Because that thing, when you opened it up, it's like 3 feet wide. Look at that shot, man. Look at Peter Criss. You can barely see him. He's right there in the middle. But, wow, right? Ace Frehley with his triple pickup, flame top Les Paul. You got Paul Stanley over there with his Ibanez Iceman. Man, what a shot. Yeah, okay. Anyway, where was I? Oh, Clyde Stubblefield. He when you listen to, I just said Eric B. and Rakim's Lyrics of Fury. How about NWA's, well, I'm not going to say it, F the Police, Public Enemies, Fight the Power, LL Cool J's, Mama Said Knock You Out, Ice-T's, or OG, Original Gangsta, one of the great tracks of all time. Well, so was Mama. So was F the Police, right? Along with literally hundreds of other hip-hop songs. Each of those classics that I just named is set to a beat drawn directly from an 8-bar drum break played by Clyde Stubblefield on what is widely believed to be the most sampled record in music history. James Brown's Funky Drummer. That's right. Recorded in Cincinnati, Ohio on this day in 1969. And I'm going to tell you right now. If it wasn't for Clyde Stubblefield, you got no NWA. Public Enemy. Think about what I just said. Is that heavy? That's heavy. And that's Clyde Stubblefield. And I'm giving him the credit today that he needs. Thank you, Maria, for posting that picture of Clyde Stubblefield. I love Twitter. Oh, look at this shot of Ace Frehley's triple pickup Les Paul. Oh, you guys are good. Fader fact. Now, as if that wasn't enough, right there, right, with Clyde Stubblefield. I just laid one out there for you. You can walk around with that fact and whip it out on your friends, and you can be the musical pillar of knowledge that you think you are, and they'll believe it. But here's another one for you. Mozart sold more CDs in 2016, Mozart, than Beyonce. Sold more CDs in 2016 than Adele and Drake. That is a Fader fact. Oh, man, look at that. Yeah, I remember this guitar. Yeah, the double neck Les Paul. Yeah, it was a cool guitar. That's what you make. You get guitars like that built when you are the man. That's how that stuff happens. All right. Just listen to me, folks. The events that happened over the last few days have been heavy and tragic, and I don't want to take away from the Russian ambassador's assassination yesterday in Ankara, Turkey. Fully aware of it. And our thoughts are with everyone involved in the Christmas truck attack in Berlin. And these lives have been lost to the chess game being played out there right now. And it will continue. And we get that. So our thoughts are with everybody. All right. Today we had a huge explosion at a fireworks market and manufacturing area outside of Mexico City. I think a lot of people died today. I think the latest count is like 29 or something before showtime. And I was looking at the video of that today as it was going on, and that was huge explosion. So our thoughts are with everybody. But tonight and for the rest of the week, we're only going to do warm and fuzzy news here, right? For the rest of the year. Okay? Only warm. The stuff that just makes you warm and fuzzy. I want to do that. And Rita goes, that's just enough of the doom and gloom, man. And she's right. So that's what we're going to do. And so we dug deep, man. We've got some stuff here. All right, so just listen to some warm and fuzzy news. First up, 400 people got homes. 1,260 got cars as a gift from their boss. Happened this year. Savji Dholakia is the founder of Hari Krishna Exports, a diamond conglomerate out of India. And for the past 3 years, he has been rewarding employees of his firms with diamond jewelry, new cars, and flats, apartments, as a reward for meeting performance targets. He spent $8 million. He gave away 491 cars, Fiat Puntos, 525 pieces of diamond jewelry, and 200 apartments. And this was in October 2014. He did it again in October 2015, presenting gifts to a selected 1,268 employees. The company employs 6,000 people. So think about that for a second. 1 in 4, right? And hopes to provide homes and cars for every employee at his company over the next 5 years. Now, aside from being totally awesome to its employees, the company is also heavily involved and invested in being a responsible social being, corporate or otherwise. I'm quoting here. By initiating practices, undertaking events, and drafting policies aimed at the well-being of the society. I wish we had more stories like this. They do things like organizing blood donation campaigns. They planted 700,000 saplings, trees. They built a lake, right? The company provides lunch to underprivileged children, people, old people, widows, etc. On the birthdays of the customers of the company, hoping that their blessings will do wonders for everybody, for society, for its customers, for its employees. All they want to do is spread goodness. And I gotta say, that's the most awesomest boss ever. We have pictures. Rita, post a picture. He is, and I'm serious. Savji, you look at this man's face and you look at his eyes, and this is a cool dude. A cool dude. Rita, post his picture. This man needs to be recognized, and he's not. There he is, right there. Now, look at this gentleman. Is that the coolest dude ever? If that doesn't put a lump in your throat and get you warm and fuzzy on this holiday season, nothing will, man. You are a block of ice, because that man is cool. And look at the, Rita posted 3 pictures. Look at the picture of the giveaway of the cars. I mean, look at that. How cool is this man? The answer, the coolest. Doesn't get any cooler. The man is just cool, respected and loved. And we need more guys like this. All right. My next fuzzy feel-good story. Kim Jong Fatty Fat has been threatened again by a mystery rebel group in North Korea. That's right. It's going down right now in North Korea. Dozens of North Korean currency, the bills, right, the paper currency, surfaced in North Korea bearing slogans written on them, and they were just thrown into the street. Thrown into the street. The news came following reports of anti-fat leaflets and alleged decline in popularity right now for the young and large head of state. Anti-government messages such as overthrow Big Boy Un and punish double chin Kim were reportedly scrawled over images of the leader's grandfather and founder of the state, Kim Il-sung. They don't do this stuff in North Korea. Now, these are the 5,000 North Korean won bills, right? Any money in North Korea is valuable. It's worth a lot because nobody's got it. And so if you are... Now, there was another part to the story, too. Flyers. Somebody in North Korea is printing flyers. That's crazy. These aren't the ones that are being dropped by drones and balloons. No, these fat leaflets, yeah, right, are being distributed right now in North Korea. So the police now have in a couple of towns north of Pyongyang have shut the towns down. They're going door to door. They're making people write out, and they're getting handwriting samples. They're trying to, and they can't. This is freaking them out. And for the populace there, that, man, the indoctrination program that starts from your date of birth all the way through, this kind of propaganda is never seen. Done from the inside. There you go. That's my second feel-good story of the night. And here's another one for you. Are you ready? A new plant species has been named after Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. The plant is found only in a small area right here in Baja California, Mexico. Researchers have recently paid tribute to Hendrix by naming a new plant species after him. The plant, named the Dudleya hendrixi, is found only in Baja California, Mexico, and can grow up to 1 foot tall. D. hendrixi is a thin, stalky plant with a pinkish white flower on it, and a succulent flower, by the way. These tiny flowers die in summer and bloom again in the fall. The plant was discovered by Mark Dodero, who was then a graduate student at San Diego State University, and he is now working as a senior biologist at a San Diego environmental consulting firm. There you go, Jimi Hendrix. Feel-good story number 3. Now for number 4. Yes. Aside from the snows of Kilimanjaro, you probably don't associate Africa with the winter weather or winter sports. But 3 former track stars based in Texas want to change that. The women are hoping to become the coolest competitors at the 2018 Winter Olympics. They have their sights on the bobsled course in South Korea. Her name, Sun Adgun, literally driving the initiative to get the Nigerian women's bobsled team on a track. I'm not making this up, folks, and this is the feel-good story of the year. right? Cool Runnings Part 2. She represented Nigeria in the 2012 Summer Games. She needs to compete and complete 5 races on 3 tracks by next January to qualify for the Olympics. Her 2 teammates have only practiced on a wooden practice sled called the Mayflower. They haven't raced on ice yet. I see the Disney movie, right? John Candy's no longer with us, but I see the movie in our near future. Now, I've got to jump ahead because this happened last week. And the story, when it broke, how do I say this? Kind of ticked me off. And let me. I don't want to do that one. I've got to do this one. It's right here. Controversial Italian hunter Luciano Ponzetto has died. Yeah. After falling 30 meters, 100 feet down a ravine. His death occurred while he was hunting, prompting many to describe this as karma. Ponzetto, who became a figure of controversy after posting images of his trophy kills of lions, slipped on ice and fell down a ravine, according to a newspaper out there. The 55-year-old was hunting birds in Italy near Turin when the accident happened. And it seems the photos of Ponzetto posted previously hadn't left a good impression because social media just lit up, rejoicing on Ponzetto's death or divine intervention. You know, it depends on how you want to look at it. But for me, I think dude was probably pushed from the back by a snow leopard. And that's just me. And this is Fade to Black. And those are our feel-good news stories for the day. News that you know nothing about, and now you feel warm and fuzzy. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, John Burroughs is here. We're doing Rendlesham Revisited. It's a crazy year for Rendlesham and ufology and conspiracy and paranormal. The news out of Egypt this year, we had a lot of crazy stuff. Tonight, we're going to do Rendlesham with one that was there, John Burroughs. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I'll be right back with John Burroughs. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. It's a holiday season with hope in the air. Things to look forward to and no time for despair. Health can be a challenge, and so can the mail. So Get the Tea wants to help you by giving you a sale. Buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month for free. No limit. That's buy 2 months of Super Tea and get 1 month free. That's a savings of $35. Where? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Scroll down on the front page and find the buy 2, get 1 free ad, click it, and save. Orders over $100 get free shipping. Send the gift of life. Change tea at getthetea.com. We have many, many non-GMO organic supplements just waiting for you. This holiday season, enjoy health and Thanksgiving with getthetea.com. Want to call us? 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Getthetea.com is a proud sponsor of doing what's right. That's getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Klutsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station where the Fade-or-Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is it. This is the end of the year. I just can't believe what a year it has been. Crazy year for all of us, hasn't it? And tonight, John Burroughs is here. Rendlesham Revisited. He entered the United States Air Force in 1979 and served 27 years, both in active duty and reserve. He is currently retired. John has had various assignments throughout his Air Force career. Some of these assignments were at Luke Air Force Base, Osan Air Force Base, Grissom, Castle, and with reserve assignments at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base and Prime Beef, Williams Air Force Base, Reese Air Force Base, Luke Air Force Base. And he has been on many deployments from Italy to the Middle East. In 1979, though, he was assigned as a security police law enforcement patrolman at RAF Bentwaters in England. That famous twin base with RAF Woodbridge together, they had massed the largest tactical fighter wing in the United States Air Force. In the early morning hours of December 26, 1980, while working a law enforcement patrol at RAF Woodbridge, he had a life-changing event. That's right. Where he conducted an investigation on a phenomenon which has left the rest of the world in awe as one of the most documented and witnessed sightings by the United States military in known history. John currently co-hosts Phenomenon Radio with Linda Moulton Howe on KGRA The Planet, and of course his website is phenomenonradio.com, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black our good friend, John Burroughs. John, good evening, sir.
Hey, Jimmy, thanks for having me back.
Man, you're the best, John, and the biggest. So, it's kind of like that. You know what was really funny today? I almost posted Big John Burroughs is going to be on with us tonight. I'm not planting a flag here. Has anybody called you Big John?
Well, actually, one of the individuals involved, if you can believe this, and Adrian Bestenz, at one point when he was interviewed for this years ago, said I was with the big guy.
Yeah, right.
He did. He called me the big guy.
Man, I remember the first time that I stood next to you, I was just like, holy crap, man. Okay, so anyway, enough of that. Yeah, you're a tall drink of water, so we'll just leave it like that. But crazy year for Rendlesham, and just when you thought that, all has been said, all has been done, and we can just move forward and continue to research. Once again this year, we've got new stuff, new witnesses coming forward, new books. We got a divorce involved in the case, too, as well. And is this like the gift that keeps on giving? Is there still more to discover at Rendlesham?
Yeah, and one of the things that you didn't bring up was, and I look at it, it was a tough thing to deal with, because I definitely didn't want to see Hillary Clinton become president of the United States. But a lot of people weren't aware of this. But one of the things that if she was elected, it was brought up by Podesta that, she was going to open the books on what took, on UFOs, or was she started calling them UAPs.
Right.
And one of the cases they were going to look at was the Rendlesham Forest case.
And UAP, oddly enough, was brought up, very publicly about Bentwaters and you. And UAP really became the accepted or the new way to say UFO.
Right. And in Europe, they've used it for years, but that was one of the things that I wasn't aware of until after she said it. And then I started doing some checking. At one point, Nick Pope, who everybody knows worked for the Ministry of Defense and UFO desk, was asked to come to Washington, and he was involved in John Podesta's think tank. And Leslie King organized it. John Podesta was there. There's a lot of people that they won't disclose who was there, but they said they were military people, intelligence people, and stuff like that. But Nick was one of them. And one of the cases that they talked about was the Rendlesham case. Plus, they went into Project Condign and UAPs. So when she did say that on, I believe it was a Kimmel show,
right,
that threw me for a loop, because they were going to go right down that alley of it, the new Norman culture's UAPs, which goes right to what Project Condign actually mentioned Bentwaters, and it involved, the report itself talked about UAPs in it. So
now, for those out there that have been living under a rock and aren't familiar with Rendlesham, and I'm sure that there are those, and then we have those that are very familiar with the case. But when you speak about it, what's really cool is, you were there. You went through all of this, and medical issues too as well. That actually cleared up this year too as well. The medical issues didn't, but the issues involved with it did, and that was a big news story for ufology this year. But people will be hearing directly from you about these events, and I think that is key here, and it is important. So let's kind of start there. I want to talk about the 26th of December. We have 2, possibly 3 days, because there could have been something too on December 27th. But take me back to December 26th, and what happened on that night for you.
Sure. We came on duty, actually, we came on duty at 2300, which would have been actually still Christmas night. And it was Christmas night. It was dead. Both bases, Bentwaters and Woodbridge, were dead. Nothing was going on. Went to work at 11. I was on law enforcement patrol. It was around about between 2 and 2:30. My supervisor, who was the other patrolman over at Woodbridge, asked for a rendezvous. So I met up with him. He was new, and he just was assigned. I was assigned to him as the supervisor. So he wanted to get to know me a little bit better. So I jumped in the patrol car with him, and we started driving around. One of the things we checked was down at the east end of the base, it was called the East Gate. We made sure that area was secure. The gate was locked, because one of the things was there was a combo lock, so some of the people knew the combination maintenance and stuff, and sometimes they tried to sneak in and out, and they sometimes even forgot to secure the gate. Right. So we were just driving around, heading down East Gate Road, on the base towards East Gate, and all of a sudden he saw something strange up in the sky. And I'm not going to lie, I was tired. It was, it was the middle of the night. I was just kind of sitting there half listening to what he was saying. And he asked me, he goes, "What is that? Have you seen that before?" And I've been there almost 2 years. I'd been down at that gate many a times on alert and different things when it was open at night. And I looked out, and no, I hadn't seen anything like that before. He originally, and he explained it a little bit, was he saw something coming down into the forest. What I saw was something that was already into the tree line. And like I said, I've always said it was different colored lightings, like green, red, and blue, white. So we got down by the gate, stopped, kind of kept looking, and he was a really conservative guy. So it was a little strange, but he actually, and he was in charge. He said, "Well, what do we do?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know." I says,
and who was he? You keep saying he.
Sergeant Steffens.
Okay.
Bud Steffens was his name. He was a staff sergeant. And So we decided that we'd open the gate up and drive down now we were going off base, and we drive down that road to let out from Eastgate, and you come down to a T and you go left or right. Well, we got down to the end of the road, which was the forest also, which was called Rendlesham Forest, was right there, right in front of you. And then you go left or right. He kind of turned the car around, so we were facing back towards the gate. I got out of the vehicle, and as we were going down the road, and when we got down there, it got really eerie because we went off base. We didn't tell anybody. And all of a sudden, whatever it was seemed to start moving in the forest towards us. So here we were off base, armed, and whatever we were seeing appeared to be coming towards us. Also, when I got out, opened the door and kind of got out to look, there was a static electricity in the air. So it got really eerie fast. So at that point, we both kind of looked at each other and said, "Let's get back up to the base and let's call this in." So we drove right back up and went over to the gate shack, which was right there by the gate. And he got on the phone and called in that something strange was happening just outside, the main, East Gate in the forest, right on the perimeter of the base.
And what was the response from your reporting of what you guys were seeing?
Well, he was new. I'd been there for a while. The desk sergeant and I had a history. I used to play a lot of practical jokes on him. So it was Christmas night. It was a laid back night. I'm not going to lie. They had one of the nets. They were actually playing Christmas music. They were taking requests and music on one of the nets. So one of the nets was tied up. Everybody was kind of just chilling, and everything else. So when he called him, he didn't believe him. So he got me to get on the phone, and I told him, his nickname was Crash McCabe. And so I told him, I says, "No, there's something out there. I don't know what it is, but it's something that's out there, and it's right there on the edge of the forest. It's even moved closer towards the base." So he didn't want to believe me. He thought I was playing a joke on him. So he transferred me real fast to security control. And when security control picked up, I think he thought I'd hang up and that'd be the end of it. But when the comptroller came on, I told him, I said, "Hey, listen, this is what's going on. We've got something just outside, the base, right outside of East Gate. It's in the forest, and at this point, it even looks like it's starting to move real close to the tree line towards the base." So at that point, he dispatched the security supervisor down to the gate. The patrol had Staff Sergeant Jim Peniston and a brand new airman, believe it or not. It was his first night on flight, right, by the name of Ed Kabansak. He even said later he thought that was some kind of practical joke that were playing on him. Sometimes the new guy gets a joke pulled on him.
Yep.
And they proceeded down to the gate, and when they got there, they could both see the same thing we were seeing.
Now I know you've gone over this so many times, but I think that the attention is in the details, right? So
Yep.
let me ask you a couple of questions. For the first thing that was popping into your mind, you're an armed, patrol, right? And this is
right.
The largest, a fighter tactical wing in the United States Air Force. There's, allegedly, nuclear weapons on this facility too as well. This is a no joke situation as far as a base goes, and that needs to be driven home here. And you're on patrol, you're armed, these lights are in the forest. At that point, did you think UFO? Did you think something like that was going on, or were you thinking the Russians are coming, or it could be terrorist activity? What was going through your mind?
It really was happening so fast, and like I've never really said this other than to say the air, when we got down to the end of the road, it was static, but it seemed like everything was happening. It was like slow motion or whatever. So to be honest with you, I could see that there was something there. I didn't know what it was, but I also wanted to know what it was, but I didn't really define it at that particular moment as far as a UFO or anything, but it was clearly something. And like I said, I'd been there almost 2 years. I'd never seen at the gate.
right,
at night or on patrol when we'd go down and check it. So it was very intriguing, and I didn't really know what it was, and I really did have this drive to find it out. But at that moment, no, I really didn't think UFO. And people need to go back in time now. This isn't today where you've got the internet and all this stuff. It was back. Those were the dark ages, man.
Right.
You had 3 channels on TV. You barely, I don't even know if FM radio was around then or not. I mean, I know AM, but over in England, there was no FM.
Right.
So this was the dark ages, and UFOs weren't a big topic or on the TV. Matter of fact, if they ever talked about them, they made fun of them.
Right. And the other part of the forest, you have been out there for 2 years. Was there the possibility of kids driving a car through this forest that were out there drinking? Was there in your own mind, were you checking things off the list? It can't be a car. It can't make it through the forest. There's no way, were you checking things off of the list?
Well, yeah, because, but obviously, like I said, he saw it when it was above the tree line coming into the forest.
Right.
And then a lot of it was above in the middle of the tree line. So, no, clearly, I don't know if I really just said, well, it's not a car. But, it was kind of obvious. It was something that came into the forest and was in the forest. And it was, in the tree line itself, not down on the ground.
How long did it take for security to get there?
I'd say, because we had the discussion on the gate and then with the phone, and then they called for him, sent him down. It wasn't more than 5 or 10 minutes from the time we saw it, went down there, came back, got on the phone and called him, because the base wasn't very big. The Woodbridge, there was 2 bases. Woodbridge, we were on the smaller base. And then Bentwaters was the big one where they had more airplanes and other resources there. So we were on the smaller of the 2 bases, and it wasn't that big of a base. So it didn't take more than 10 minutes for everything to transpire from the time I think we called it in until he got down there.
So security arrives, and right. who was head of security?
Sergeant Jim Peniston was.
Oh, that's right. Peniston, first night of the job. Right. So Peniston shows up. What do you say to Peniston, and what does he's seeing the same thing that you are, but what was his reaction?
Well, actually, what happened when Peniston showed up, Steffens was in charge, so Steffens went over to him, and they started talking. He did walk over to the gate where I was standing, and so did his rider, which Ed Kabansak was his first night. Jim had been there a few months. Mm-hmm. And looked out into the forest, and he could see the strange lights out there in the forest, too. So he didn't really say a lot to me. He just said something to Steffens. And now Jim has said in the years past that Steffens told him something landed in the forest. It didn't crash. So there was a conversation. He then went over to the phone and got on the phone. And at that point, this is secondhand now, I wasn't on the phone, but he said that he spoke with obviously the controller, the flight chief, and then the shift commander got in the middle of it. And what was going on, and again, I wasn't on the phone, I can only repeat what I was told, was that they were starting to do some checking. They called RAPCON, which would have been our radar on Bentwaters, and RAPCON was part of the radar system, but not part of the tower. And they called over there, and they wanted to find out if they had anything on radar. They called Eastern Radar, and they called Heathrow Tower. Now, during these conversations, and this is something that never came out early, but this is important for people to understand. This was off base. And people have brought this up over the years. It should have been a British matter.
Right.
And in theory, it should have been. And I know for a fact that I've been told that the British police were called and they eventually showed up. And at one point, I've been told from the people that were over there, they actually did call the fire department. And the fire department came out. And I have never got to speak with one of the fire guys that came out has supposedly talked a little bit about what he saw. I've never really got the whole story, but they saw something strange supposedly when they came out too. But because they were able to verify that the radar did detect something right outside the gate over the base, by the base, that they felt possibly, and it disappeared on radar then, they thought that it might have been a downed aircraft.
And, Peniston said, a craft of unknown origin. That's the famous quote, right?
Right. That's after we got closer to it.
Right.
He uses those words. But we really went out there only because there's a status of force agreement with countries, and because it was something close to the base, radar showed something on radar disappearing into the forest area. We could see some kinds of strange lights. Peniston is on the record saying he thought it looked like a fire or something at first from the gate and stuff. So the shift commander authorized 3 of us to go out into the forest. It ended up being Peniston, Kabansak, and I. Stefan stayed behind, and we secured our weapons. So we left the base unarmed and proceeded out into the forest to see what was going on.
Okay, so that's the official side. Did you stay armed? did you didn't take a sidearm with you?
Well, it's strange. Okay, this is where this story gets the twists and turns. Now, I remember turning the weapon in. Peniston claimed later on, and when we got close to whatever it is, at one point he screamed at me to open fire, draw down and open on it. I didn't have my weapon with him. But Ed Kabansak did talk for a short period of time. He did an interview with James Fox for a documentary they did called I Know What I Saw, or Out of the Blue, and then it changed to I Know What I Saw.
Right.
And in that, he claims that the 3 of us, when we got close to it, I actually had my .38 with me. I drew it, and then we all passed out.
Right. See, because, look, when I had heard that, I immediately thought, there's no way I'm going in unarmed, right? And so it just made sense, but it's off base, so you could never admit or, publicly, officially, that you guys had taken weapons off of the base. And I was cool with that, but I think all of us kind of understood that, dude, you're going into the forest at 2:30 in the morning, approaching lights, and you're on patrol. You're going to stay armed. I would. You don't know what you're confronting. You just don't, right? Okay.
Well, what I can tell you is that there were 2 types of weapons, the main weapons we carried. I mean, there were other weapons. There was M60s also, and some 203s and some saws. But the main weapon law enforcement carried was .38s. We later changed down the years to 9mm. But we had carried .38s, and the standard weapon for security was the M16s. Us ourselves would never, with the status of forces, gone out into the forest with M16s.
Okay, all right, but a .38 is okay, and I'm cool.
It wasn't okay, but
I'm okay with that. Okay, so what happens next?
Well, we went into the forest. We went down to the end of the road and took a right, and went as we were driving down the road and we took a right, the forest was to our left end. You could see the lights, and what I described very early on. And I find out later that it makes sense because of what was in Condign later on that I found this report, I was seeing different colored lights. I was seeing like green and red and blue and orange and white and stuff. And I had said at one point, it kind of looked almost like a Christmas light display. You know how the lights change color and do all those kind of things.
Right.
There was no definitive anything at that point. Then we took a left on a service road, logging road, into the forest. Now, we didn't go very far, and I always remembered this, but later when I went back and visited, there was no fence line there. But I did confirm through the Forest Division and some people that lived there, there was 2 fences, and there was a fence that blocked us going any farther. So we exited the vehicle, all 3 of us got out, and at that point it was, whatever it was farther out in the distance, now in the forest. There was, like, again, no shape, different coloring lights. They had the forest was always kind of a white light with maybe a little orangish tint in it. And we started heading towards it, okay? Once we got out of the vehicle and started going into the forest, they started having trouble reaching us on radio. At one point, they lost radio contact with us, was up to, I think, 45 minutes, people had said. So when we left the vehicle and started heading towards whatever this is, they eventually lost complete radio contact with us for over 45 minutes.
Now, you're not far enough away to lose radio contact. That doesn't make any sense. I know it happened, but
it depends on who you talk to. Some people say, we were using Motorola radios that weren't the greatest, but there was a repeater that was there at Woodbridge to, kick it to Bentwaters, because all the command and control went through Bentwaters. There was a backup CSC at Woodbridge, but it wasn't active unless there was an emergency, like, something happened at Bentwaters or something like that. So there was a backup CSC, but there was a repeater. So no, they shouldn't have lost radio contact with us more than, that shouldn't have just happened. And more than likely, whatever we encountered probably caused that. Because there was, the second night, a vehicle shut down. The third night, light-alls wouldn't work. They had trouble with some vehicles, and they had radio trouble again,
right?
Whatever we were dealing with.
Okay, so now you guys are approaching, and again, I'm going to ask you questions that you probably haven't been asked.
Okay.
At what point did you change from, okay, we're on patrol checking out lights in the forest to, whatever, to holy crap?
Probably for me, I mean, the adrenaline was pumping. We seemed to, like, at a couple times we thought we were getting closer to it, and then it seemed to move away. It felt like at one point maybe it was toying with us. Now this was all happening really fast,
right?
And we were moving at a pretty good clip. We were spread out in kind of a line formation, but we were moving towards it. And again, remember now, we had radio contact on and off as we were proceeding towards it. And then we really did, at least what I mean by we is that the shift commander really believed an aircraft may have went down. Penniston has always said that's what he thought too. But when things really changed for me it was like we were getting close to it, and all of a sudden there was like this little berm, and we went up, and as we came down the berm, whatever it was sitting right there in front of us.
And that was the
that's
whole...
when, yeah, and it was like all of a sudden too, the light just got really bright. I mean, it was just like the forest lit up like it was daytime. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there was a light there, and it'd be kind of like you're going along and you see street lights or car lights in front of you, so it's lit up in the area. But then all of a sudden you walked up and let's say 25 or 50, 30 cars just turned on all their headlights at one time.
And now you must have been trying to figure things out, right? Because you're seeing something you've never seen before, and your brain is trying to work. What did you think you were, at this point, looking at?
Well, I'll get into that in a minute, what I remember, okay, as far as what I put in my statement, what I drew, and everything else. But when it got really bright, we hit the ground. And that was the pucker moment. I'm not going to lie. We hit the ground. And that was when Penniston, who was in front of me and was the closest to it, yelled at me. I remember him yelling at me, open fire on it.
Right.
And I'm like, I can't. So, but that's where things change. And might as well go into it.
Yep.
What I remember then.
Well, okay, hold on. We got to take a break right there. And I don't know where the time has gone, but we got to take a network break, and it's a perfect time to do it. Let's do that now. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, our guest, the one and only John Burroughs. And we are doing Rendlesham Revisited. 2016 was a crazy year for Rendlesham. Lots of other stuff. We're going to do a recap of the first two nights, and then we're going to talk about all of the breaking news that is going down right now around Rendlesham. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back. More with John Burroughs right after this. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Race Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
How you doing? It's Jimmy here from Zipa. Today I wanted to tell you about my efforts to achieve global elimination of snoring. It all starts with respect. respect for yourself and respect for others. Listen, you think you're being a nice guy or a nice girl by letting the guy or girl next to you sleep and snore every night. It's the ultimate disrespect to have that happen. You wake that person up and you tell them, go to Zyppah.com now. ZYPPAH.com. We're not going to tolerate this, all right? Snoring is not okay. Someone next to you is snoring, you tell them to buy a Zyppah. ZYPPAH.com. I know that you're listening to these snoring things and you're thinking, well, it don't apply to me. I don't have these problems. A lot of people are in denial, but it's true. Listen, if you're snoring, you got to stop it. What you got to do is get this fixed. Get a Zyppah and change your life. ZYPPAH.com.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to JimmyChurchRadio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, John Burroughs is with us. Rendlesham Revisited. On the 26th of December, 1980, one of the craziest, most documented UFO events in history happened at Rendlesham Woodbridge. Now, the second night was the 28th of December. We are talking to John right now about the first night of the 26th of December, which is a few hours now past Christmas Day, in the early morning hours of the 26th of December. And they have approached this object in the Rendlesham Forest. They've gone up on a berm, and this thing lights up. And they all, in John's words, hit the deck. Jim Peniston, says open fire. John, it's a good thing that you didn't open fire, too. Have you often thought about that? What could have transpired if you guys started shooting at this thing?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't really, to this day, I can't tell you exactly what it was. But, you know, if it's something from somewhere else or advanced technology, I don't think it would have ended well for us.
Right.
The one thing that would have happened if that would have taken place would have been, this would have had to come out right away.
Right.
Because once you had a weapons discharge, or I assumed it would have had to have come out right away, but you never know. Government's done crazy things where they've just covered everything up and never let it out, even when certain things like that have happened. But you would assume if I would have opened up on it, yeah, it wouldn't have ended well for several different reasons.
Okay, so Peniston yells open fire. What happens next?
Okay, now this is where it gets really, really crazy, okay? I remember all of a sudden then the light just started to dim down. And in my statement, I did a handwritten statement after the events happened. And what I did was I drew, and I always said it was lights. I drew like an orange oval type object It had some blue lights around it and underneath it. There was like an orangish hue in it, and it looked that way both nights. I was around this thing twice, and it had like an orangish hue in the white somewhat too, with some blue lights in it. But what I remember, and now Ed didn't really say a lot, but I've talked to him off air. The same thing. It got, it was bright. It dimmed down. Whatever it was lifted up through the trees and shot back towards the coast. And at that point, we got up and we started proceeding out of the forest, across the fence into this farmer's field towards the coast. Now, Peniston, okay, early on, and I've got to bring this up, Jimmy, because this has caused a lot of issues with the case. Early on, when he first retired and started talking about it, said that we got close to it. He saw at one point when the lights dimmed, he saw a triangular type object. He said that in his first documentary or show he did. He actually did an interview with 3 ladies in England that first found out about this early on and said he described it as a triangular type object at one point. He called it white, a grayish white in the first interview. When he did the TV interview, he called it triangular again. I don't remember when he started calling it a black object. But he said it was a triangular object. He observed it, and then it lifted up and disappeared. Now, as the years have gone on, he's evolved with this story. He said he walked around it, took pictures, wrote down in his notebook what he saw, actually sketched some glyphs out all while this was going on. I mean, he did say in the first interview that he did that he saw what looked like some kind of glyphs or something on it. But then later on, he said he wrote it down in his notebook. And then at the 30th anniversary, right before it happened, he then added the last caveat. He said, as he walked around it, he touched the glyphs and he had a binary download.
He had the download, right.
And he had the download. But now I want people to understand this that are listening. This all evolved over the years. This is not what he said happened at first. It took up to the 30-year mark before he talked about the binary download.
And, okay, so let's, in retrospect, with you, do you have a complete memory of the entire event? I mean, is there anything that's clouded? Was there an opportunity for these things for Jim to happen, for him to have done, but you either didn't see it or, is your memory affected?
Well, the first night, it's harder to say that than the third night, and I'll say why. I do remember, and Ed, when him and I have talked off, we never went on a show together, but what we remember is we were there, we hit the ground, it was bright, then it dimmed and it left.
Right.
There appears to be what's been labeled missing time, because when we got back, our watches were slow.
Right.
One of the things I discussed with Peniston, because of the watch is slow, and his theory is there was a bubble around whatever it was. He was in the bubble, we weren't. So
right. Maybe
we didn't see it. But for me, and I've always said this, it happened like boom, boom, and then shot back, and then we went out into the field and we pursued it for a good mile and a half further or whatever it was. We saw it farther down in the field, and then we just kept going until they finally called us off and sent us back to the base.
Did you see Peniston? Did you see Jim stand up when you guys were, hitting the deck? Did you see him physically stand?
I remember when we hit the ground, we were like in a type of a line stagger formation.
Right.
He was to the front, I was in the middle, and Ed was behind me. I can remember him. We hit in the ground, but I was looking at it, but you kind of saw him out of the corner of my left eye. And then I remember him looking back at me and yelling that. And then what I remember is when it started to dim, he started to come up on a knee just like the rest of us. And then we went forward. So, I don't remember losing contact with him,
right.
Or anything else. And that's caused a lot of friction, Jimmy. I mean, because he's come out with all this other stuff. And I mean, you know how debunkers are. They're like, well, how come the guys right next to you couldn't see it and all that other stuff and everything else? And I have to say, I wish, and he's had different reasons why. I call him some of them excuses, why he just didn't lay it all out from the beginning, or at least when he first started talking about it. Because he hasn't made it easy, because he didn't talk about the notebook until about the 18-year mark. And then that all came out in the glyphs and stuff. And then he waited till the 30-year mark for the binary download. If he would have just come out with this all at the very beginning, it would have been a lot easier, even though I still wouldn't have remembered seeing him do what he said he did, walk around it, and do all that stuff. It would have made it easier to stomach some of this other stuff too.
Yeah, and this is what reality is, John. If you and I and Jim witnessed a bank robbery / car accident / shootout, right? We're going to have 3 different stories. That's just it. And we're going to remember things differently. I saw a yellow car. You saw a blue car, and I get that. But this is also trauma of a degree that most people can't even relate to. And when it comes to debunkers or somebody that wants to shoot holes in the story, it's the easiest story to shoot holes into. So I expect all of that. I just can't imagine. But it doesn't change the facts of the case. And the facts of the case, where everybody is in agreement of, is that there was something there. You guys went up on it. It lit up. It raised up and took off. That's nuts right there. Okay, so let's that's
right. And we could throw one more thing into it, that when this Condign report was released and they talked about what they call UAPs or the phenomena, it says in this report, which is a declassified secret report, there was 11 of them done. They did this complete study. It's called Project Condign, and they did this study. The MOD, the DI-15, I believe it was, wanted this done. They wanted to look at everything involving UFOs and a lot of documents that are still classified, and they admitted in this report that when you get close to something like this, it's going to change how you see things, view things, and remember things.
Yeah, and
whatever we encountered would affect you. It would. And Peniston was the closest. He was the closest that first night.
You and I you and I talked about this on the phone when the report was first released, and you and I were reading sections of it together. You remember that?
Right.
And there was that one section. There was like 2 sentences that to me blew this whole thing out of the water, and it was them saying that UAPs are known to affect. And I'm wait a minute. They're putting it in here. They're saying that UAPs are known to affect. And I thought it's an admission of it being real. It's not. Right. It can't be interpreted, is where I'm going with this. They were stating it as fact that they knew about this.
Right. No doubt. And there's a lot of other things the report said to include, which helped me get my settlement with the government, was the fact that we were exposed to UAP radiation.
Right.
That's in the report too. It's right in there, and that's where it gets dicey for the debunkers, because they're not really sure. They try to tear the report apart, but a lot of it's still redacted and classified too. But there is a lot of documentation that backs up what we said, and even this report helps explain why we would have reacted differently and what we remember what happened.
So you guys call it off. You guys are walking back.
Right.
Now you guys are talking about what just happened. And what was that conversation like before you got back to security?
Well, I mean, it basically was as simple, how are we going to explain this? It started from the very beginning when we went off the base and we saw something strange. We shouldn't have been off there. Then we call it in and we figure it's a downed aircraft, and you get out there and whatever it was, you can't explain how it did what it did and everything else. So we're walking back like, oh boy, and everybody had been listening to bits and pieces of it on the radio. We knew we had radio trouble, but when we got back is when we found out it was up to 45 minutes. They lost contact with us. So it was hard on us. And I mean, again, people go back to 1980. You didn't want to have a UFO thing.
No, of course not. Of course not. Now, you wake up the morning of the 26th, right? You know, you end your shift and you wake up. What happened on throughout that day? Did you talk to anybody? Did you find any other witnesses?
No, actually,
was there a
what
debriefing?
happened was we actually confirmed more evidence. We got off duty. It was 7:00 in the morning. I lived downtown, believe it or not, and Penniston rented a house from my landlord. I lived in my landlord's house. He had apartments downstairs. So we rode back and forth together to work. So we went home. Well, actually, we went out. We went and saw the shift commander, tried to explain it as best we could. And it wasn't easy. But he did tell us, number one, that, yeah, radar confirmed something was there and disappeared. And two, he said, you saw something. I'm trying to remember exactly. He just kind of explained, I understand you can't explain it, and UFO came up, but it wasn't like it was aliens. It was like unidentified. Do you understand what I mean?
Of course.
You obviously got close to something. So why don't you guys go out to the force? Because there was a group. It already was all over the place. You know, all the people that were on duty heard it, were talking about it. The ace flight was on. So we got in our car and we were going home and we drove out to the force. When we got out there, the operations officers out there, the day shift commander, the day shift security flight chief, there were some other people, the bridge police were out there. And when we got back out there, we went back towards the area where we had started, and they were all around this area in this clearing, and there was indentations in the ground that were triangular in shape.
Wow.
And the trees had, like, there was, a canopy above you.
Right.
There was down branches in a hole in that area.
And what was the mood like? Were they, were the police concerned, or were they, was it comical, or was it a real investigation?
We were tired, but we were, I don't know if we were in shock, but we were kind of still like, whoa. And when we got out there and found evidence, it was more like, holy shit.
Right.
Right. And now remember, I was an airman first. Penniston was a staff sergeant. He was in charge of when we went out into the force and everything else. So they were talking to him more than me. The British police were walking around with their hands in their pockets, kind of staring at stuff. Our operations, which would have been second in charge of the cops, was out there. They were taking it serious. And the British police, we didn't get to interact with them so much as they were interacting with our chain of command. But what I got told later was Captain Verano actually did one of the, I think, CNN piece, and said the British police basically looked at it, saw the triangular objects, couldn't really explain it. So they said, well, since UFOs don't exist, we'll just say rabbits made the holes in the ground.
How big do you think the object was when it started to dim down, right? When you guys hit the deck and it started to dim down, how big was it?
I've never been able to give because it wasn't an object. It was like lights, but it was, kind of like you've seen the big spotlights, how big they are round wise.
Right.
If I had to compare it to that the orange oval light was like that size.
Interesting. Okay, so now let's move forward to the 27th before the other big day, which was the 28th. The 27th, there has been stories about there were also things seen on the evening of the 27th. What do you give to those reports?
Actually, the night of the 26th going into the morning of the 27th. Yes.
Right. And so what do you give to those reports?
Well, that's just it. I went home, went to bed, slept, went home, went to bed later in the afternoon and slept through the night. I woke up in the morning, and I've said this on TV. I woke up and felt weird. I felt like something had happened again. So I got up and I was off, and I got ready and I hitched up to the base. I live downtown. And when I got up to the desk, it was just about shift change. And I got up there, and when I walked into the desk, the desk sergeant looked at me and started laughing. And I'm like, what? He says, you're not going to believe this shit. He goes, you guys were out there one night. Last night they saw stuff over at Woodbridge again. He said the shift commander went off base and with the security flight chief because they saw the lights again. And now what he told me was that when they were out there, she was in the Jeep. A blue light went through the vehicle, shut the vehicle down, and shot out of the vehicle, and her vehicle stopped, and she freaked out. freaked out, and they actually relieved her of duty. That's been confirmed. She was relieved of duty that night and sent home because she should have been on duty the next night and wasn't. There was a different guy that was the shift commander. But I've also been told that she also damaged the Jeep when this all went at her. She went off the road and hit something.
The night that you were on the berm, how close were you three to the UAP that first night? Well, you got to remember when we came up on it, the light got really bright. I'd say we were 5 or 6 feet away. Oh man,
maybe less. I mean, it just all happened so fast because it was like you were like, it wasn't a big like hill, but it was like a berm,
right.
And you could see something in front of you. And as you climbed up on the top of the berm and started to come down, all of a sudden it got real bright. Oh shit, there it is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Boom, hit the ground.
Right.
We were close. I mean, we were really close.
Okay, 5 or 6 feet. I've asked you this before, but before we move on back to the 27th, any smells?
No, I didn't. I don't remember smelling anything or anything like that at all.
Any sound?
Not when I got close to it. The animals were very upset when we were out there approaching it and in the forest, but when we got close to it, no. And I never, when it lifted up and went away, I didn't hear anything.
And did you hear it? What about trees? Did you hear things break?
No.
That's
why it was shocking. First of all, Peniston, in an interview he did right at like an 83 with those 3 women, said that he saw like legs underneath it, like a tripod.
Right.
I don't remember. I didn't see any of that. It was like bright, that, as we saw it, bright, dimmed down, up and gone. And I was shocked. I mean, I guess I shouldn't have been shocked it was tree damage because it did. It went straight up through the canopy of the trees.
Right. Now,
but I was shocked to find a triangle, and there it was. It was like a triangular type of.
Right. Now, on the 27th, were you on duty or off duty?
When I went up to the base and I found out something else happened, I was off that day. It was a Saturday. So I hung out at the base. I went to the dorm. I talked to some of the guys that I was on flight with that are off, and I told them something happened again. So 3 of us decided on our own that we were going to go out on our own that night. We had no idea that more stuff was going on, and we hung around. I think we maybe went downtown at one point, but we came back up that night, which would have been Saturday night, around going on 11 o'clock, somewhere between 9 and 11.
Right.
And we came up through the main gate at Woodbridge, and the gate guard, I remember him stopping us and telling us there was stuff already happening again. I was off duty. Yeah.
Civvies out of uniform.
Yeah. I was off duty. I didn't wear the uniform when I was off duty.
Right. Now, also, this is Christmas and it's England. Cold?
Yeah, it was cold. It was really cold the first night. The third night, I don't remember how cold it was, but the weather it didn't change much over the 3 days, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so the third night, I don't know which night was crazier. They're both pretty insane. But the 28th of December, how did things kick off there? Because there was the Christmas party going on, or New Year's party, or whatever. And that Halt was there, right? That's where he was.
Right. There was a Christmas party that was right after Christmas. They couldn't get according to Halt, they couldn't get the building booked until the day after Christmas or something like that.
Right. So it was a Christmas party that wasn't on Christmas, and that's where Halt is. And it's just confusing for everybody because Christmas is already passed, but it's always been spoken as the Christmas party. Okay, so
it was called the Wing Christmas Party, and according to Halt, they couldn't get the hall over there at Woodbridge booked until the 27th. So
okay, so take us through that because obviously he gets notified during the party.
Right. This is the story I got. The Halt's talked about. He was at the party. Lieutenant England came in to the party and said it's back, and he said, "What's back?" Or the base commander said, "What's back?" And I would assume our squadron commander would have been there because it was a wing party and all the commanders would have been there.
Right.
So once he said it was back, the Halt said there was a decision made because there were still awards to be handed out and it was still going on. That Halt he called the short straw and he was told to go out there and figure out what's going on. Now, this is night 3. The cops have been dealing with something that they can't explain. Now, this is the 3rd night. So get out there, get us a report, figure out what's going on. So he left the party. He said he contacted the disaster preparedness because he wanted to get somebody with a Geiger counter. He found out who the oncoming flight chief was, which was Ball. England was already there, and he assembled a team and then went down to the gate.
And where were you when all of this was going on?
I would assume, based on the fact that when I came through the gate, the guy said it was already going on.
Right.
We were still off base, and then when we got down to the gate, they were already out in the forest. So my guess is we were off base.
Okay, so you arrive on the scene. Halt is out with his team. He's got his famous cassette recorder with him.
Right.
Which
right. And the people that have never heard about this case, it's online. You can listen to it. It's Colonel Halt's tape of I think it's like 17, 18 minutes long of it. He actually recorded it while the whole thing was going on. It's pretty freaky to listen to.
With the first back in the first days of the internet, right, in the mid 90s, and I found those recordings online, which is rare back then, right, to have audio online. And right. I listened to that for about 2 days endlessly. And it's some of the creepiest stuff to listen to, but he had his recorder there. And
right. He went out there to figure it out, and he did. This is a fact. I can verify this because he used to come out and ride with us. He kept a tape recorder, and he was very, very, I call him anal, diligent. Anything that he saw or did, what he did was we would put it on the tape recorder, and then he would give it to his secretary to deal with it.
And thank goodness, right? I mean,
right,
you know, there's a lot of things about this case. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, what if, you know, but one of the most important pieces about this is those cassettes, and that he had it with him. And it's funny to hear him say, dude, I always had that thing with me. Right. Well, you know, this was the night that he didn't forget it, you know, for sure.
Right.
All right.
So because that helped. That really helps with the case between the memo that got leaked and his tape. It's really hard to deny, even for the Air Force, that something took place.
So, yeah, absolutely. Now, you arrive on the scene. Could you see them in the forest, you know, flashlights and stuff?
No, I first got held up at the East Gate. You'll listen on this tape. You'll hear at one point one of the, I think it was a security control, said we have Airman Burroughs and 2 other personnel wanting to come out to your location. And Sergeant Ball replies back, not at this time. We'll let them know when they can come out. Eventually, I was allowed to go down to the staging area where there were some light alls. And I'll go through that real quick. While we were down there, before I moved forward with Halt, a blue light actually shot down into that clearing where we were, shot right at us, past us. The light alls weren't working. The light alls came on and went through the truck and shot up into the sky.
Yeah, crazy part of the story, no doubt.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break right here, and then when we come back, I want to get some facts of the case in order here. How many people were on the scene? Who was in the forest? Who you didn't see, who you did see. We're going to try to clear up some of that stuff, too, as well. And we'll be gentle about it. But we've got to lay this thing out. Our guest tonight, John Burroughs, Rendlesham Revisited. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
You get a Zeepa. You get a Zeepa, you hear me?
What's the name when you snore? It's Zeepa, Zeepa. It's the thing we're craving for. It's Zeepa, Zeepa. You can't sleep all night. Zeepa, Zeepa. And wake up feeling right. It's Zeepa, Zeepa. Makes me love my husband more, 'cause he no longer snores. Zeepa, Zeepa.
Zipa's different than any other device because it actually works. A lot of these other devices, they just bring the jaw forward. That's it. However, the thing that makes Zipa different, it stabilizes the tongue, basically, with this elastic band. But right here, Jimmy's telling you that this is a unique device. Go to Zipa now, buy it, and stop the snoring. Get a Zipa, ZYPPAH.com. Zipa.com. That's ZYPPAH.com.
Oh, fall. My favorite time of year. Cooler temperatures and, well, let's be honest, layers. Lots and lots of layers. Look, I get it. We all have that favorite hoodie. Matter of fact, I've got a few favorite hoodies. You should wear yours. Enjoy it. I do. But I stay focused on my health year-round. And for me, I take Nature's Youth RSF from nature'syouth.com. Nature's Youth RSF from nature'syouth.com. I eat right, control my portion sizes, still maintain a commitment to regular fitness, and I get plenty of rest, and I take Nature's Youth RSF. It's okay to cover up your beach body for a few months, but don't just forget about it. Nature's Youth understands exactly what it means to provide top-quality health products, and Nature's Youth customers not only improve their health, they know they're also providing their body with the right nourishment to maintain peak performance levels and fight the aging process. So layer up and get started today with Nature's Youth RSF. nature'syouth.com. Simple to use, even simpler to order. Go to nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, John Burroughs is with us. Rendlesham Revisited. Now, 2016, we had a lot of stuff surface about Rendlesham. We had John's medical side of the case settled. We've a divorce has happened. We've had a new witness or two come forward. And another book was written. So we're going to talk about all of that in just a second. Now, John, you are now, you've arrived at the scene of the second night. And, for the audience, lidals are massive spotlights, searchlights that they bring to the scene of something active to light up the
Actually, the
area.
lidals were used on the flight line. They were used to light up the aircraft when maintenance would work on them.
That's what I'm referring to. Right, exactly.
Right.
And so that's when he says lidals, that's, some people have never heard that term before, but that's what it is. It's lighting everything. And you guys were having issues with that. But anyway, so you've now arrived at the scene. How many people were there? And do you remember everybody that was there?
Well, here's the thing. I was off duty. It wasn't my flight. And you had a combination at that point of swing shift, because it started on swing shift and went into midnight shift. So you would have had all different kinds of people floating around that night. Would have been both B and D flight. So what I remember, I don't remember names so much other than Bustinza. And I really didn't know Bustinza at that time. I just figured, afterwards it became clear it was Adrian. Was the fact that there were three of us off duty. We got held at the gate. Then we went to the staging area. And then when Halt's team started to come back, and if I remember right, and I don't want to screw this up, but I think there would have been 5 of them together. There would have been some people in the staging area with the lidals and the trucks, but I can't tell you their names because, like I said, these were big flights. People have to understand this was the largest tech fighter wing in the base, and security flights were like, I think 60 or 70 people. I may be wrong. LE was over 12. So I didn't know all the guys on C flight, let alone some of these other guys. So I can't give you exact names, but the 3 of us were allowed to meet up with Halt in his group. England was there, Ball was there, Bustinza was there, Neville's was there, and Halt. That's what I remember, those 5 guys, okay? Halt came up to me and started talking about what was going on. And at that point, when we were talking, he pointed up into the sky and started talking to me about the blue lights they'd seen, and there was a couple like blue lights, and Ball was pointing at them too, that were still up in the sky moving around. At one point, one of the lights shot out towards the Bentwaters base, and you could see a beam of light come down in the weapons storage area. What I mean by that is I could not see the weapons storage area. I don't know for sure how close it was, but it was in that general direction. And the radio went nuts. The security, the WSA freak went nuts that there was some kind of activity going on around it, okay? Didn't say it was inside of it, but around it, okay? Then all of a sudden in the distance, it was like a Huey's orangish type object or light. I call it object, but it was like a light that was out in the distance in the tree line. It was coming down and skirting along the tree line and started to come down. He looked at me and said, "Is that what you saw the first night?" And I looked out, and it kind of did, but I wanted to get close now. Now I had to know. This is night 3 now. You know what I mean?
Right.
What the hell is really going on here? So I told him, I said, I don't know. I need to get closer. So he cleared Bustinza and I to go out towards it. Now, Bustinza and I started moving forward. Adrian was in uniform. I wasn't. And as we started moving towards it, it started moving towards us. And at one point, we started running. I grabbed the radio from Bustinza and was talking to WSA Tower, and I said, it's getting really close. Do we have permission to go further? We got it okay. And this is where, when you asked about memory, what I remember happening was I was getting close to it. As we were running, Adrian went down to the ground. Now, he said that as he felt something push him to the ground and held him.
A force.
I remember
a force. He said a force, yes.
Yes, a force. And I remember getting real close to this. And that's all I remember. And all of a sudden I'm standing there. It's gone. I turn around. Adrian's back in the distance and starting to stand up. Now, what Adrian said he saw was that whatever it was came over the top of me. And I disappeared.
And I almost said when you said I got really close. Okay, and that's where you kind of don't remember after that. He said it was on top of you, but
yeah, he said it came over me.
Yeah, but this is my question though, John. When you said you got really close, how close is really close? Could you have reached out and touched it?
Say you're in a room and you're coming up to the wall, right? You know what I mean? You can't go any farther.
Right.
A foot or two. It seemed like I was getting that close to it.
Okay, all right. So you are there. You're there.
I'm coming right up on it, and then. Like I said, all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, it was like it was gone. And I turned around and looked back at Adrian, and he was on the ground getting up. So, but Adrian said that it came over the top of me. And he described it. He came on Phenomena Radio and talked about it. He said, you know how they show in Star Trek where you kind of, they're transporting somebody out and they fade?
Right.
Like that?
Uh-huh.
That's what he said it looked like. He said I was fading away like that.
And how long, you said it was an instant, but with Adrian's description with what he saw, how long, how much time passed?
You know, I'd have to go back and listen to what he said on the show, but I think it was over 5 minutes.
Incredible. Incredible. And you don't remember anything. Did you see an outline or a shape when you were a foot away? Could you see a firmness? I know you've always described a light, but was there anything solid?
No, again, it was like, to me, on the third night, it was like a fog, an orangish fog, and there was like that round ball, of orange oval in it again. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So no, I never saw a craft. Now, here's where it gets interesting, and I'm always honest about what was said. Adrian also said when I went into it, it exploded.
Right.
Blue lights were around it, and it turned into a triangular object for a minute.
Did you, at this point, I know your mind is racing, but were you starting to now get into this ain't us. This is something else, whether it's ET or time travelers or interdimensional, whatever, but not us, right? Not us, not of this earth.
Well, like I said, I just remember turning around and walking towards Adrian, him telling me that, he got knocked down to the ground, and he kind of was mumbling what he saw happening at that point. And at that point, him and I were like, what the fuck?
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. We'll bleep it out later.
All right. But it was like, oh my God, what is this now? What are we dealing with? What is going on?
And here we are in 2016. I can't even believe this much time has passed, because 1980 to me is still modern times, right? If you know what I mean.
Right.
But here we are in 2016. Well, what do you think now? I mean, you look back at this. What do you think?
Well, there's a few things that's happened over the years between right after it happened. We were really quickly. I remember we were brought in. I had to write a statement, which I did, which you can find it, online. I was an airman, so Peniston dealt with the command and all this and everything else, and I was just told to leave it alone. So I did. I mean, I couldn't explain it, and no one wanted to talk to us about it, really, and I just didn't know what it was, so it was good enough for me. But over the years, as other people started coming forward, talking about different things and stuff, and I did do some hypnosis. I have to feel like, based on the Condon report, the different things that we've seen, and even some from my hypnosis, that and finding more about the area, which I didn't know as an airman, that area is deep in technology, development, R&D, and everything else, where there was Bowsy there, Marlsham Heath was there. They at one point had over-the-horizon radar there. The NSA was there right down the road. MI6 was there. The DIA was just down the road at another base. I think there was something we were doing, and there's also been enough of a study, and there was a scientist, his name's Andrew Pike, who wrote a book about it, and then it got pulled magically. But he was doing an investigating on an energy field or force that's in the area. And I think there was something that we were doing, and there's an energy force there, which is still there to today, because when we went over to 10, we found again, we had some weird interaction, and there was definitely an energy field there. So I think there's something still there to this day that we encountered back in 80, but there was also something our governments were working on at the same time.
Now, we've got this new witness that has been in the news lately. The story broke about a week ago.
It was about a week ago.
Yeah, it was about a week ago. Steve Longero. And now... have you met Steve?
I don't remember Steve, but I have spoken to Steve. Yes.
Okay. What do you think about his statements?
Well, there's a lot of people that I've come to know, and some of them I've been friends with from the UK and stuff like that. And his name it come up. There's a guy by the name of Ronnie who's done a lot of background work on this and everything, and he knew who Steve was. And what basically happened was, there's a guy over in the UK by the name of Philip Mantle. Now, he's stuck his nose in and out of Rendlesham for years. He's been involved in ufology, but he tracked Longero down and did a brief interview with him, but he botched it, and he botched it for these reasons. The story breaks. He does an article for a magazine, a small magazine, online magazine. The magazine publishes it. Then the Sun picks it up. Then Fox, Science picks it up, I think it was, Jimmy?
Yes.
And there was a New York paper that picked it up.
Well, when it broke, I saw the Fox Science article, right? I thought, wow, okay. Here we go. Rendlesham going a little mainstream here for Fox to pick it up. There must be something to it. And
it's ironic because Hall has just released his book, and yet they didn't pick up Hall's book or being the colonel being involved in all this. But they took and they ran a story about a guy, an airman, that said, I think the headlines were something like, I was there, it wasn't from this world, or something like that, wasn't it? That's how it was.
Yes. Well, he says here, and this is part of the story. I'm just going to read this direct. The retired U.S. Air Force police officer has gone on the record for the first time and said, "I think it was something not of this world." That's the quote. And he says, and then I could. Well, he says, while on duty that night, we had a sophisticated alarm system and everything just went off, and I could see the lights over the treetops. And I was thinking, what is going on? They started sending people out there, and at first it was hard to believe all of these bright lights. It was hard to take in. Well, from what I remember, the lights, fluorescent lights, kind of glow like a reddish glow, and I remember going out there. And this, why do you think he didn't come forward in the past? And his description of it and how the story is presented is not quite the same, which is a good thing in my opinion. I need something alternative, right? I need new stuff. So that part of it I'm cool with. But do you think that it could possibly be, I don't know, Steve, I haven't talked to him, but that maybe this is just information that was already out in the public?
No, I don't, because I got to talk to him after the magazine article came out, and Mantle had been bothering me about it prior to the magazine article coming out, asking me some questions. But what happened was Mantle just threw something together without really interviewing him or understanding the case. And Steve's name has been floated out. I think Larry Warren actually said that he was involved at some point. I don't think anybody had really ever, I think Ronnie had spoken to him, but no one had ever tried to get him to formally come forward and do an interview. He was on my list to do at some point on Phenomenon Radio, but I hadn't got to him yet. But talking to Steve on the phone, this is the impression I got. Because he described our sea flight, the flight chief and everything. He knew all about that. So I think what happened was, and because Mantle didn't really ask the right questions and stuff, Steve was definitely on duty our night when this took place. Now, the criticism's already started with, he claimed he was over at the weapons storage area and they pulled some of them and took them over to Woodbridge.
Right.
Now, I know some people were brought over especially after they lost contact with us. And a lot of people say, well, why would they pull somebody from the number one resource, at the largest tech fighter wing in the Air Force, which is a good question. And I can't answer that, but I don't think talking to Steve, he was making it up. Okay. And then I talked to him, and now here's where it gets interesting, because Larry Warren is, as Nick Pope likes to say, a controversial figure, but Larry at one point talked about, when he first started talking about this, he said at one point he was in the dorm, they did a recall, they pulled him out, he went on a post and then got taken somewhere else. Well, when Steve and I talked, and you're talking 36 years ago, Steve's pretty sure that on the third night they did pull some people out of the dorm because of everything that was going on. And he was out there at some point on the third night also. And he did admit to me he's having trouble remembering both nights exactly what took place. So it is kind of a jumbled mess in the interview itself. No one else has come forward and interviewed him more thoroughly. But I don't think that Steve just came out, to get his name in the paper or because he heard the story.
Right.
I do believe Steve was involved.
Okay. And I'll take you out, that's cool. Let's move forward, because he does say in the article, he says that he went out into the forest where he remembers seeing a large group of military personnel that had already gathered, including Jim Burroughs, right? He names Cabin Sack and Larry Warren.
Right, and that's where it's really tough, and if Mantle would have had his act together, he would have tried to distinguish what he was trying to say. Larry Warren was not out there on our night. Now, believe it or not, there is some controversy on that, where at one point when Georgina Bruni did her book, I Can't Tell the People, he did try to insinuate he was out there the first night. But there was only 3 of us that went out into the forest the first night. And that's where it's confusing. And I really, even talking to him, he had a hard time. That's what I'm saying, where he had a time putting together. But he believes he saw Warren, which would have had to have been on the third night,
right?
If Larry was out there, but he also remembers Jim and I and Ed, and it's pretty clear, And again, I was in security, and I don't remember him, at that point in time. But I'm pretty sure he was on our flight, and and I don't, like I said, I don't think he's making this up.
Right.
But I think what's happened is two stories have come together, and and it's 36 years, and some people, it was like a fringe thing for him, where other people, were more involved. But yeah, he did kind of jumble that all up. You can't deny that.
So, which is fine. I mean, because the incidents on both nights, on the 26th and the 28th, they were both in Rendlesham Forest. They were both in the same general location, right?
Right.
And so, 36 years ago, not knowing which night is which, I can't remember anything from 1980, but I have my own reasons for that. They have nothing to do with UFOs, but I get, I totally get that. And moving to back to this third night, the question constantly comes up, and it's right here. It's like the 10th time now in Twitter. What about Larry Warren? What about Larry Warren? And like you just said with Nick Pope, he's one of the controversial figures in all of this. But let's put a couple things to bed. Did you see Larry Warren?
No.
And is there the possibility that you could not have seen Larry, but he was there?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people out there, especially on the third night, for sure. I mean, you had two flights out there. There was, like I had said, I've been asked before, if Larry was out there, and Adrian Bustinza said the same thing when he came on the radio show. Larry would have been back in that clearing where that light all area, back in that area. He never was up with Halt's team or with, went forward. But Larry, interestingly enough, when he first came out and started talking about this, described several things that happened that actually involved Adrian and I.
Right. And, Adrian saw him. Doesn't Adrian?
Well, Adrian's fuzzy on that. He on the show, he said that, yeah, Larry, you would have been behind us. You weren't up there with us. Halt has said now, and it was funny, early on, Halt, first tonight, Adrian and I were even involved. And then the tape came out, and started getting analyzed, and he had to admit that we were there. He now is saying that Adrian didn't leave his side. He always denied that I ever came forward, but unfortunately for Colonel Halt, there was an interview, believe it or not, and I give credit where credit is due. Warren and Robbins were doing an interview with Halt right before he retired in D.C., and him and Warren were in an argument, Halt Warren, about who was there and who went forward. And Halt let it slip in the interview saying, well, no one else was with our team or got out in front of our team but Burroughs.
Right.
And Halt knows I have the tape. So now in his book, he's finally grudgingly, over 36 years later, admitted, A, that Bustinza was with him, B, that Adrian and I went forward of him. He finally has admitted now in his book that Adrian and I were allowed. I met up with Halt and I proceeded forward.
The two guys that I love, actually, Peter Robbins and Larry Warren. They've both been on the show, and I've had lots of conversations with Larry, and he's a very fun guy to talk to, and I enjoy him. But they kind of had a public breakup a couple of days ago. And although I don't know the bottom line with it, I don't. Right. I don't know if you've spoken to either the two of them. So by saying that, you probably don't know the actual inside story. And I don't want to discuss that. What I do want to discuss is the infighting that sometimes can go public with situations like this and cases like this. And it certainly has occurred more than once with the Rendlesham case, right? And should some things stay private and get worked out instead of going public, where the ufologists out there, the fans of this, and the people that follow this is not good for ufology and for research, because it allows the other people to go, man, see, everybody's just full of crap here. They can't stay all on the same page, and once one little thing falls apart, it's quite possible that all of this, could fall apart.
Well, okay, in our case, the incident itself took place, okay? There's no doubt there's discrepancies over what people saw, what they were involved with. We talked about with the fact that Penniston and I, and even Kabansek, didn't see the same stuff, and it might have to do with the phenomenon. Yeah, you should try to probably privately do things, but human nature is it doesn't always work out that way. All I'll say about the breakup between Larry and Peter is this, that when Halt's book had just come out, if people have read it or if you get it, he went after Warren again pretty hard, and that's not the first time. And I think what probably some of what may have taken place is this. Peter's always come out. He wrote Halt at Woodbridge. He went after our book that Nick and I and Jim did together.
Right.
But Peter was silent this time. And I think a lot of people were putting a lot of heat on Larry and probably even him. Why aren't you responding to Halt's book? Why aren't you doing anything? And so what Peter did, and here's where, I have to admit, people are speculating, and there has been some research done and some stuff followed up on Larry. But all Peter basically said was that Larry and I have our differences, and until we can work them out, I'm no longer working with Larry Warren.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Of course, that blew up into huge speculation on why and what's going on.
Yeah, and until I speak to either of them, I'm sure that they're both listening right now, and I'm going to open up the phone lines here in 3 minutes. We'll see if Peter or Larry happens to call in, but I'm going to open up the phone lines at the top of the hour here in 2 minutes. Now that the way that this has been documented, and the fact that this is not civilians, this is not a couple of fishermen out, in the middle of a swamp. This is, the largest tactical fighter wing on planet Earth, right? It is for the United States Air Force, armed to the teeth, large, lots of military personnel. This is a military case with military personnel who, above and foremost, know the difference between a bird and a helicopter. Yeah. That needs to be out in front here. This is where we are not messing around.
Well, let's take it one more step further. There's a guy out there that it threw the lighthouse in, and Halt was fooled by planets and stars and stuff. What most people don't know about Colonel Halt is he was in Vietnam. He was a combat controller. So anyone who knows what combat controllers did knows very well that Colonel Halt was not fooled by the lighthouse, stars, or planets.
And the other part of this, and you glazed over it, I'm going to try to get this in here, we've got 45 seconds, is everybody, and Halt told me this himself too as well, but everybody is now talking about the blue light with the beam that came out and went into the weapons storage area. That you know what I mean? And this is, and it has been said nearly directly that this was E.T., that this was off-world.
Yeah, no doubt. Colonel Halt was really Penniston. It all happened. I think Halt said it right before Penniston did. Halt came out and did a press conference and said that it was E.T. And he's always said it was just lights, but because it was under intelligent control, he feels it's E.T. Penniston came out on the 30th anniversary, said it was time travelers. But yeah, Halt's the one that started this by saying what he saw was under intelligent control. We're not alone. It's definitely E.T.
Right. Let's take a break right here. I'm opening up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. John Burroughs, Rendlesham Revisited. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'll be right back.
On JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
You've probably heard about all the great benefits of goat milk soap. But did you know some companies take shortcuts? At Old New England Soap, we make our organic goat's milk soap using 36% goat's milk. That's 17% more than most others. Our bars are larger, so they last longer, producing lots of lather packed with vitamins. And our soap is a natural moisturizer that smooths dry and damaged skin. Order online at oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. You've tried the rest. Now try the best. oldnesoap.com.
Water-based soaps on supermarket shelves use harsh chemical acids to break down dead skin cells. And that's just not good for you. At Old New England Soap, our soaps are made without chemical ingredients, contain no alcohol or petroleum products, and use 85% organic materials and carry the USDA's organic certification. Try some today. Go to oldnesoap.com. That's oldnesoap.com. oldnesoap.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
If you have sciatica, then you know all about the crippling pain that travels from your lower back down your leg when a spasm occurs. It's brutal. In fact, it's enough to take your breath away. Dr. Zhang's Sciatica Nerve Cream helps relieve persistent, shooting pains associated with the sciatic nerve in the lower back and legs. This natural, homeopathic cream contains the most potent ingredients to soothe even the most excruciating pain associated with sciatica. Stop the pain now. Ask for Dr. Zhang's Sciatica Nerve Cream at your local health food store or go online to trasknutrition.com.
Would you like relief from muscle pain, headaches, and discomfort to sleep better, have more energy during the day, and just feel naturally amazing? Fibromalic can help. Its blend of malic acid and magnesium can provide pain relief and comfort for those who experience fibromyalgia. It helps your body absorb more oxygen, and it works quickly for a significant reduction in pain within 48 hours, all without a prescription. Ask for Fibromalic at health and vitamin shops or shop fibromalic.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, John Burroughs. We are doing Rendlesham Revisited. I've opened up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. All right, John, you ready to take some phone calls?
Sure.
All right, let's do it. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to John Burroughs. Who's calling?
Hey, good evening, Jimmy, John. This is Brent from Prosper, Texas. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I was a dog handler in the United States Air Force, and I just had a few questions for you. Number one, how close was the WSA to this area? And how remote was the WSA to the base?
Okay, there were two bases, okay, and the Woodbridge base is where this stuff, most of it took place. So the force was right outside the perimeter fence line. Bentwaters was, I think, 5 or 6 miles, I can't remember as the crow flies, between Woodbridge and Bentwaters. And the weapon storage area was in the back part of Bentwaters, so it would have been as close as the Bentwaters base towards the forest area where the majority of what took place.
Okay. And you said on the second and third nights that you guys had Lidalls out there.
Yeah.
Who took the Lidalls out there? Was it Charlie Flight or Bravo Flight? I can't remember what you said. And also, what was stored in the WSAs at the time?
Say that last part about the WSA.
Oh, what was stored in the WSAs at the time?
Okay, I'll talk about the Lidalls first. The second night, I don't believe any Lidalls went out there. The third night, they pulled some Lidalls out there from the Bentwaters, I believe, and some from Woodbridge. There was, I don't remember, 3, 4, or 5, something like that. They took them out into a clearing area, that was out there in the forest area. I believe it would have been probably D-Flight, because Bestenza was involved with it, and that would have been the flight coming on for midnight shift. As far as what was stored in the WSA, I'm not going to comment on it.
Oh, why not?
It's a status. It was a status of force at the base treaty between England and the United States, and we had to sign paperwork that we're not allowed to discuss what was in there.
Well, and this has been brought up over and over and over again. I'm not planting a flag here, right? Okay,
right.
So I get that part. But by saying that you can't talk about it is the same as saying there were nuclear weapons there and they weren't supposed to be there and we can't talk about it. Because otherwise, John, you would just go, dude, it was just conventional weapons. Big deal. It was an Air Force base.
John, you and I both know that if this was an NMSA, that there'd be a whole different level of security out there. Correct?
I agree. I don't dispute
I'm
any of
assuming
that.
this was just a regular WSA where you had some 10 Mike grenades, maybe
right.
some grenade launchers and stuff like that.
Right, and that's where I'm coming from too, as well.
No, and guys, I can't dispute that, but see, there is such a thing. And you were in the Air Force. When you're at certain places, you have to sign non-disclosures and certain paperwork. Okay?
Sure.
And until you're released to talk openly about what was going on there, you have to honor that signature.
Okay.
That's fair.
John, I'm going to push you until you tell me to go.
You guys can, and you're right. When you bring up weapons storage area, which even Colonel Haltz talked about, the difference in security, all that, everybody said that. But I cannot talk directly what was stored inside that weapons storage area.
Okay.
I signed a non-disclosure.
Okay, well, let me ask you in this fashion, okay?
Sure.
Have you heard the rumors? Did you hear rumors when you were stationed there that there were nuclear weapons on those bases or in the WSA?
I was law enforcement, so I had nothing to do with that area.
I'm saying, did you hear rumors, you and your buddies, that there were nuclear weapons there?
I don't remember.
Okay. John.
I'm just going to honor
I have another question for you.
I honor my commitment.
Okay, John. Okay, but I'm going to get you drunk the next time I see you. I'll get to the bottom of it. Hey, Brent, thank you for the phone call, man. Did you have any other questions?
Hey, yes, I did. I had another question here. You said Lidalls were taken out. So I'm guessing with the Lidalls, a fire team was put out there also, correct? With the recall from the dorms?
Yeah, there's no doubt that, you had 2 flights, one that was on when it started, one that was coming on, and it looks like some people got pulled out of the dorms. So, there was vehicles hauling equipment out there. Bestenza, which was D-Flight, was the security suit for Woodbridge that night. So, there was different people out there. Yeah, no doubt. And what they've said has happened, because I was off duty, was the people that went out there, they had a vehicle that stored the weapons. So, and they were running around unarmed also.
And if you don't mind, just one last question here. You being an A1C, I'm guessing there's no doubt this was your first duty station, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And after this, how long were you in country, and where did you go after that?
Okay, it's happened right at the end of December, and I didn't leave until July of the following year. My next duty assignment was Grissom Air Force Base in Indiana.
Oh, you were at Grissom. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then
right
from
on.
there, I got to go to Luke. And then, unfortunately for me, Luke was a great assignment. The weather was great. But that's when I was at Luke, that's when the crap hit the fan with Bentwaters. And I got snagged out of there and sent to Osan Air Force Base for a year. And hey, I was K9 after Bentwaters. I went into K9 and I was K9 after that. So
interesting.
How long did you stay in?
I was in a total because I separated from active duty at 8 years, and then I stayed in for a total of 27 total with active and reserve. And I did a lot of active duty time. I got called back to active duty for Bosnia. Then right after 9/11, I spent 2 years back on active duty. And there was such a shortage of dog handlers at the time as for explosives, because that's what I was in. I actually worked a dog and deployed over to the Middle East twice and did a bunch of other stuff.
Man, Brent, what are you, NSA or something? I feel like you're a detective. Hey, thank you for the phone call, man. Great question.
Thank you for taking my calls.
You got it, Brent. And be safe out there. Yeah, man. He's asking the right questions, right?
He was military. I mean, that's the problem too. Is a lot of times the military guys won't talk and they won't call in, and the guys that were involved want to stay quiet. And I mean, and sometimes I understand with Bentwaters, because every time somebody tries to come forward new, they get stepped on.
And and if you're on hold, just stay right there. We'll get to your calls in just a second. I've never talked to you about what happened afterwards. You just said, you were at Luke when the stuff hit the fan.
Yeah, that's a long story in itself.
Right.
I re-enlisted at Grissom. I didn't want to stay there. It wasn't a good assignment. It was SAC. And
Grissom's no joke. Grissom is no joke, man. Okay, go ahead.
And so I got out of there. Matter of fact, they were really upset with me. I got there. They had K9 openings. I got into it. They sent me to school. Everything was great. I came back. And then I could re-enlist. And one of the re-enlistment things was you could get a base of preference. So I got there, went to school, and as soon as I got back, started working at the dog, I re-enlisted and took a base of preference to Luke Air Force Base. I wasn't even at the base a year, and they spent all that money on me at K9, but I wanted out of Indiana, and I wanted out of the cold weather. But I was at Luke, and that's when everything dropped. That's when the memo came out, News of the World. CNN started looking into this. DeCaro came out and was chasing me around out there at Luke. I didn't want to talk. I actually reported to Public Affairs, came to work the next day, and had the Pentagon on the phone with me. My commander took the call, and then they called me in, and I was ordered to talk to CNN about it.
I think you're talking about Chuck DiCarlo, right?
Chuck DiCarlo, yeah. The Air Force at the time was real nervous about this, and what the general was, and I didn't know who he was till later, was a one-star in charge of public affairs. But the guy that was on the phone with him had been a shift commander at Bentwaters during the incident, was Captain Graham. And this is where the first time I ever heard Larry Warren's name was. They got me on the phone and they said, "Look, the cat's out of the bag. CNN knows something took place, and we're trying to make it look like we're not covering anything up. So all the names that have come out, and you're one of them, we want you to at least go on the record and say you were stationed there and you were involved in an incident." And then Graham pops in. He says, "But you know who Larry Warren is?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "Well, he's been sensationalizing this a lot, talking a lot of things." And he goes, "And we don't want that to come out in that way, shape, or form. We just want you to tell them that you were involved in an incident." And I just kind of said, "Well, hey, here's the deal, guys. Why don't I just not talk to him at all? That's the best way I can handle this." And then the general says, "You're talking to a one-star. You're going to talk to him tomorrow." So I went and I talked to DeCaro.
Right.
And DeCaro was cool. I just confirmed that something took place and I wouldn't talk about it, But when all this was going on, I was going TDY to Canada for exercise, and I went in to get my TDY orders, and the guy handed me orders for Korea. And I come to find out later when I get over there, Haltz or Kunsan is the base commander, and General Williams is in charge of PACAF.
Right.
So we got moved away out of the spotlight.
And they thought that would work. But Chuck DiCaro, a cool dude, but he really well, him and Linda Moulton Howe really got to the nuts and bolts of this case fairly quickly.
Right. And Chuck, we've had him on Phenomenon Radio a couple of times. He was just on about 3 weeks ago and stuff. But yeah, there's always the running joke, Chuck got a general to order me to talk to him.
Yeah. Chuck's a cool dude. Let's go to the phone.
No, he is. I like Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck's very cool. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to John Burroughs. Who's calling?
Hey there, Jimmy. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Who's this?
This is Captain.
Hey, Captain. Say hi to John Burroughs.
Hey, John Burroughs. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you tonight?
Okay, excellent. Listen, you stated that you had tours over in Iraq. Is that correct?
What I said was I did 2 tours in the Middle East after 9/11. I didn't say where I was.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Iraq and Afghanistan, those are the 2 known locations where they have been known as Stargate regions, and also the flying rectangle or triangle ships were located in those regions. Is it true that our troops were there to confiscate the Stargates?
Well, I can't deny that I've heard stories about that, but I went over, the first one I went over on was right after 9/11, and I went over for Tora Bora. So I was at Al Jaber in Kuwait. I was over there, and after Tora Bora was over, I was sent back. I then was re-scrambled or whatever and put back on alert, and I went over in January prior to the Iraqi invasion, and I was in a classified location that I can't talk about. So I was over there during the Iraqi invasion, but at no time when I was at either location did I hear that talked about or know anything about that taking place.
There you go, Captain. Thank you for the phone call, my friend.
All right, thanks, Jimmy.
Yep. Thank you. Tora Bora. Wait. I didn't know about that. Okay, were you part of the chase? Were you part of the chase through Tora Bora? Is that what you're saying?
No, I was over there at Jabber, and all the operations were ran out of Jabber,
right,
including the special operations came out of there, and all the aircraft went out of there. But I was actually at the base. So, no, I wasn't off base involved in the actual stuff that went on, with them trying to find Osama bin Laden.
Right. One of the classic jumbles of fumbles of military history. Okay, let's go back to the phone.
You're talking about Tora Bora?
Yeah, Tora Bora.
Wait until I think somewhere down the line, a few years from now, you're going to find out what really happened.
Okay.
Until then, I can't talk about it, but there's a lot more to it that has been classified and hasn't come out yet.
Okay, well, you can be my secret source. I won't disclose. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Say hi to John Burroughs.
Hi, John. This is Fran.
Hi, Fran.
Hi. I was wondering, what year was it that you went to Luke Air Force Base?
I got there, let me go back. I was 79 to 81 in England, 81 to 82. I was there in the fall of 82 through, I think, December of 83, if I remember right.
Okay, well, I was actually born there.
At Luke? It's a nice place.
In 53.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember years later, after being deployed over in Japan, Okinawa, we went all over the place. My mom came up with a story about Luke having a underground system that looked very sci-fi to her. Clear screens with lights all over them, and it was like a worldwide map on there. And she only got down in there because she worked in supply at the base. And she was walking by, and they saw these a whole row of cement trucks coming up to it, and went over and asked what was going on. And one of the airmen let her down in there to see what was down underneath all the commotion going on. And she described it to me. Probably I was in my 20s by then. And I was like, what? They had clear screens with all the electronics, and she said it looked very much like Star Trek. Which was when I was a teenager.
Right. And Fran, thank you for pointing that out. John, I mean, Luke is, Luke is one of the, it's an A-list base, right? It's a no-joke facility. And I would assume that they would have.
Actually, Luke is a training base.
Right.
And when I first got there, they had 15s and 16s. They were training all the pilots in it. That was right. Believe it or not, in 81, the 15 and 16 was brand new. Okay?
Right.
It was heavy. Then they moved the 15s to Eglin, and they kept the 16s. Now, the F-35 is now there, and they're training the pilots there.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
nowadays.
No, but did you know about any underground?
This had to have been when I was probably 7. So
Right.
1960.
Well, you're talking about NORAD. Yes, there was a facility there, okay? And it shut down shortly after I got there or right when I was leaving. I can't remember. But at one point, yes, Luke had a facility. It was called NORAD. And, yeah, there was stuff there. There was all state-of-the-art stuff.
Right.
They had underground stuff and everything else. And I can't remember if it shut down why I was there right after I left, but when I got restationed there as a reservist, it was no longer operational.
There you go, Fran.
Yeah.
So your mom did see it.
They were dumping cement down the stairway and
it was
filling
a hardened facility. It was part of the whole NORAD, the NORAD system. Yeah, so it was state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art security, state-of-the-art everything. Yes,
There
no
you
doubt.
Thank you for the phone call, Fran, and have a great, safe Christmas.
Hey, thank you, Jimmy, for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night.
John, man, I so want to just keep taking phone calls, and maybe I'll have you do some overtime and do that. But have you seen anything strange in the sky since Bentwaters?
Yeah, believe it or not, before I moved back to Illinois, my son wanted to come back here. God only knows why. He went to my high school the last 2 years, played football. Now he's going to college and play football. We lived in Sedona. And as most people know that's followed the case, Sedona is one of the sites of Peniston's coordinates. And Sedona is a unique place.
Yes, it is.
And more than once when we were out at night, out in the west end of town, there was strange things that we saw and that, went on. Yeah, I can't deny that. There was some stuff that went on that you can't explain. And
well, what'd you see? You can't get away with that. I mean, what'd you see?
Well, there was the one particular night, because it could take the rest of the show. There was stuff in the sky. Some pictures were taken and there was some triangular stuff that showed up on the cameras. There was also some video taken of a weird object that was circling. Another time there was a group of people out there, and it's on the west end of town, out over Bradshaw Ranch, which is another huge area where they've had UFO activity and stuff. The government took over Bradshaw at one point, wouldn't let the public out there. But you reached out and you looked out towards Cottonwood, and there's a town that sits up on top of the mountain, and I forget the name of it now, but something was flying out and around the mountain and out there. What it was, I don't know, but yes, I have seen some strange things.
Well, when you say flying around, you mean around the mountain or just around?
It was
in the sky?
flying around the mountain, up and down, doing all kinds of things. Crazy things.
Really? How big? Okay, well, how far away were you, and how big do you think?
From where we were to the mountain area, I think Cottonwood is like 10 miles, and then going from there, you go up the mountain. It goes up and over. It's a ghost town up there. There's mines up there and stuff. I wish I could remember the name of the town right now. But you go up and over the mountain and come down, and then you come out on the Prescott side. And but probably 20 miles from where we were, you could see that.
And, you 27 years in the Air Force, you know what to look for. What did you think you were seeing?
Lights in the sky that were doing things that how do I want to word this? I can't say today what I saw happening. We don't have the capabilities of doing based on what I've seen in my Air Force career towards the end of it. But it clearly was stuff that if it was ours, was R&D, or something that's not well known, but it was doing kinds of maneuvers and stuff that it's just hard to explain how it could be doing it.
Now, I know it's tough to speculate, but do you think that we are in control of technology that may be off planet, may be backwards engineered, but certainly technology that us civilians know nothing about and we're not exposed to? Do you think that those kinds of black programs are going on?
Well, yeah. I mean, you just have to look at the fact the Pentagon can't account for, was it $19 trillion now or whatever?
Yeah, crazy.
You know, I mean, where did that go? It's like, remember the movie, what was it, the 4th of July or whatever, when they took the president to Area 51 and the guy cracked the joke. You don't really think those $99 toilet seats were for real.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's no doubt we have a Black Ops program. I've seen some of the stuff that we have based on the just towards the end of my tour in the Middle East and some of the equipment. Is it possible we have something from somewhere else? Yeah. But my question would be, is it like an interaction, or if in fact going back in history because of all the, ancient stuff that on the walls and everything, have we at some point somewhere in the world uncovered some kind of technology or something? You know what I mean? It's very possible. I can't say that it's not, but have I been exposed to it? No.
Yeah, well, one of the blackest programs that is going on today is the X-37B. And again, it's tough to speculate, but you're in the Air Force for a long time, and that craft and the X-20 that preceded it. What do you think is going on with that? 2 years at a time out in orbit.
Well, yeah, you're talking about the scaled down version of the shuttle, right?
Well, yeah, the X-37B, right?
Yeah, that's the one that no doubt is working with satellites, and no doubt has got the other countries like Russia and China nervous because it's unmanned and it can stay up there forever, and who knows what was in it when it went up there, and who knows what they've shot up there afterwards, and that it's picked up and done. So there's no doubt that plays heavily into our defense system. I mean, and there's also been a lot of talk about, we actually have up in space, we have as far as lasers and technology that could, basically shoot down nuclear weapons and other stuff. So it probably plays into that.
Do you think the Air Force, well, you just sort of said it, but do you think they have weaponized space? And I mean, it's one thing for, against a nuclear exchange, but there's also the possibility of, an alien invasion, as Ronald Reagan put it, to unite us. Do you think that's another reason to weaponize space?
Well, obviously, I mean, yeah, you can't discard what Reagan talked about. As a matter of fact, he was coming in as the president when our incident took place. Carter, the aide won the election and Carter was going out the door. You can't rule that out. That you can't. I mean, it's foolish for people to say that we're the only thing in the universe, okay, number one. Number two, what always cracks me up is that, like, we had Nick on, he was talking about this. Well, really all we've got is the Sadie thing where, if we send out signals and we hear something, that's all we really have. But then he'll kind of, when you push him on it, like, well, how could the military knowingly know that we're trying to reach out, sending signals out into space, looking for other intelligence, not have some kind of plan in place to deal with it? Because you can't assume whatever's out there is friendly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I love Nick. Hey, I'm going to have you, let's a little overtime, John. I'm going to talk you into it.
Sure.
And so let's take a break right here. Yeah, I love Nick, but there's something about that little guy. I just think he knows something. I just do. And
there's no doubt Nick knows more than he's talking about.
There's no question about it. Our guest tonight, John Burroughs, Rendlesham Revisited. I've got more Rendlesham questions and yours when we come back. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies.
I had gout in both my knees, and it's gone.
Well, I'm pretty stupid. I should have ordered it 15 years ago. Best thing I ever got in my... It's the most effective product that I've ever bought in my life.
He had eczema on his hand, and it cracked for years. He did anything from doctor, every cream, everything. And 3 months on the veggies and fruit, it was gone.
They're just awesome. They keep asking me, what am I doing? I told them what I did with my cholesterol. I had the blood test, right? And it went down 100 points. 262, now it's 162. Everything is just perfect.
Call now to find out how to get your free month's supply of Balance of Nature. Call 800-2468-751. That's 800-2468-751. Call now, 800-2468-751. Or go online to balanceofnature.com.
Use promo code TSL.
Would odors, mold, and mildew describe your basement or crawl space? It doesn't have to be that way. Transform them into a fresh, healthy, usable one with the technologically advanced Wave Moisture Control Units. The computerized operation maximizes moisture control and also expels harmful radon, combustion gases, and numerous other pollutants. Dehumidifiers are old technology that do nothing for air quality and waste energy. Wave units are intelligent, self-monitoring, do not need maintenance, and will save you hundreds in electricity. Wave units are still running effectively over 15 years. They've been tested and installed in public and military housing and by property managers nationwide. Buy a unit now, and if your home is not fresher and drier, you can return it for a full refund for up to 12 months. What have you got to lose? Call now. 1-888-618-WAVE. 1-888-618-WAVE. Or visit mydryhome.com. That's mydryhome.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. We're talking to John Burroughs and Rendlesham Revisited. And, John, I want to say this really quick. You know, I know that we're friends, but it is such a pleasure to talk to you each time about this because, dude, you were there. One of the most important events, you know, ever, and you were there, and I cannot talk to you enough about this, and I always enjoy it so much. So just let me say thank you before I ask this next question.
Okay, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, and that's my disclaimer. Do you ever give thought to that maybe you were an unwitting participant in some crazy-ass psyops and that this was a test or this was an experiment and you are a part of this? Have you given that much thought?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I can then go into what happened with me with my settlement with the VA and stuff because like I said earlier, I've always felt that there was something that we were doing and there's no doubt that there's something there. I mean, people today are still seeing things in that forest and around the base that's been shut down. But what happened was that it turned into a big fight, and I got sick afterwards, and I started having medical issues, and it involved my heart. And so years went by, and then in 2010, I got really sick. And the civilian doctors couldn't figure out why my heart was acting and the things that were going on with it. And they wanted my medical records from the military. And so I had already at one time before tried to get at them and got denied. So I went straight to a senator, Senator Kyle, and he got in the middle of it. And the first request they made for my records, my personnel files, they were denied them. They said they weren't where they belonged. The second attempt he made, he was able to get some of my personnel file, but a lot of my stuff was missing, but they wouldn't release my medical records. The staffer that was working on it had worked with Agent Orange from Vietnam, and she immediately sent me a letter saying that she felt my files, my medical records were classified. So what she did was continue to pursue it and didn't get anywhere. But she told me that I needed to file for disability because then they could try to get more information on my records because they would force the VA to evaluate me. Well, Kyle was getting ready to retire, so he retired and handed everything over to McCain's office. Now, Senator McCain got into it, and it was kind of funny when they transformed the files. The staffers handle it. The senators don't do anything with it directly unless it gets out of hand. So it was kind of like the staffer that took from McCain's office, like, yeah, okay, I'll look into it. Well, that's when it got really interesting. They got me evaluated for my disability. When I went in and saw the doctor for the evaluation, she looked at me funny and she said, well, everything you're saying that happened to you and caused your issues, we don't have any records of you being in the Air Force or any medical records for that time frame. So I had some pay records, and I pulled them out and showed it to her, and her eyes got big. She says, well, this is for a pay grade above me. So she says, I'll write this up, and you'll hear back from the VA. A couple of months later, I got a notice in the mail saying they denied my claim based on the fact that I wasn't in the Air Force, and there was no personnel records or medical records. And that blew McCain's office's staff's minds away because it was clear that I was in the Air Force.
Right.
But what they did was they altered my DD Form 214 to show that I wasn't in. They actually changed it from 79 to 82. And they did. They altered my DD Form 214, and it was game on for McCain's staff and McCain then. And so they started going at him. And not only that, but I got to file an appeal. So I had to go see an appeal officer that was independent. He got into my case file. He could see some of it. And McCain's office had immediately filed a FOIA, and the VA lied to McCain's office. They didn't give him the information they requested.
And that is game on. I can only imagine.
Yeah, and then it started getting ugly and uglier.
Right.
But what ended up happening, because we don't have all night, is simply this. They Finally, they got the Air Force to admit I was in 79. Then they went, there's some other stuff that took place behind the scenes. A bunch of stuff went on. But finally, they've settled with me. And here's the deal, okay? And there's been a lot of debunkers come after me for this. I got 100%, okay? I've always said I got full, but I got 100%. I'm 100% rated, and my case was presented through McCain to the VA and the Department of Defense that my injuries took place in the forest at Rendlesham, and they agreed, and they rated me.
Do you have, I remember when you called me too, dude, I got it. I'll never forget that day and how happy you were. And it was glorious. But do you actually have now, do you have a copy of the altered DD 214 and the corrected one? Are you in possession of
I've
two?
got them both. Yeah, I've got them both.
How rare? I mean, how rare is that? It doesn't happen.
That's the amazing thing, and that's the secrecy of the government. Because even with McCain and they were helping me, they weren't telling me everything, and it went higher and higher in McCain's staff. As a matter of fact, even General Williams got in the middle of it and did some stuff behind the scenes. But the guy told me, he says, and even the Kyle's, when it first started, the lady told me, she says, yeah, something happened to you. We know it. you're never going to know what it is, but we're going to get you medical care, which didn't work out with Kyle. But even the guy in McCain's office says, yeah, we got your DD form 214 corrected. We're going to get you your medical care. He says, but you're never going to know what happened to you. And even to this day, my records are still classified. They will not release my medical records.
And it's just amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. And the question is, obviously, is why? That's it. That's it. It's just right there. Why?
I want to bring this up because this has been hinted at on and off. Peniston's tried to drop some hints and stuff. We went to Steve Bassett did that citizens hearing. Remember that with
absolutely
members of Congress and stuff, right?
Right.
Well, they got really interested in the case. They kicked off 2 letters, one to the VA, one to Obama. Obama's letter ended up back up in my case file. We did get finally McCain got some of my case file released, but the final FOIA was shut down because what I didn't know even is once the VA takes full responsibility and the DOD takes full responsibility, they don't have to give you your records. They don't have to tell you what happened to you. They don't have to give you FOIA. They're taking responsibility. They'll treat you, and that's the way it goes. Okay, but we had a guy show up. And I'm just be straightforward. He was CIA. He was a doctor in the CIA. And he contacted our attorney, wanted to talk to us, wanted to meet with us. And he got involved. And when I was really sick, I was dying. And I didn't know how close until they did the surgery, open heart surgery on me and replaced the valve. They said I was close to failure at the time. He wrote a letter to the DOD and to the VA telling them exactly what I was exposed to.
Wow.
And as soon as they got that letter, everything changed. They got me in, they got me the surgery, and everything changed from that.
Do you think, and this is a question in Twitter from IPD, he wants to know, do you think that there's the possibility that this was some set up covert meeting between humans and ETs and you guys stumbled upon it?
That's been brought up. I mean, look, everyone has a pretty good idea the size of the base, what was going on. There's been speculation there was some kind of test being done on us. I don't believe that was taking place. I believe they were involved in some technology they were working on, and we may have seen some of this in an interaction with whatever the energy field is in the area, the phenomenon, as Condyne calls it. But I don't believe for 1 minute, no, they were trying to have some kind of interaction with it at that point. You know what I mean? I just think that was Christmas. There was all kinds of facilities around there. They were probably doing some testing. And as a matter of fact, at one point it even came up, which was substantiated, that the Russians had some satellites, spy satellites up in the sky, and one of them we may have brought down at that same time.
And, okay, let's put a couple of things to bed, when it comes to urban legend, where the story has gotten a little bit out of control. But the debriefings that you guys took part in, and drugs involved, and underground rooms and interrogations and men in suits and civilians and so forth, did any of this take place?
For me, no. I don't know. All I remember was this. We got called in on Monday when we returned to duty. I had to turn in a statement. Saw Hall, went to Conrad, then went to Williams. Peniston did all the talking, and that was it for me. Now, Peniston, under hypnosis, not remembering it, came out that he was brought in, interrogated, had sodium pentothal or amethol is what some people speculate now, and all that went on. Warren's talked about it, and Bustinza did talk about how he was brought in and talked to, but he never went as far as saying he was like put under or anything like that.
So as far as you know, as with your side of it, it didn't happen to you.
No, the only thing I did was go in and stand with Kabansak and Peniston and hand a statement in and stand there, and that was it. I wasn't interrogated that I remember or anything. So
now I want to address one thing, and then we'll move on and then say goodnight. Peniston's statements about he was exposed to time travelers. I don't have issues with that, by the way. You know, it could be anything, right? Everything is on the table about what you guys saw. But I like that aspect of it. And as you started to hear this, you know, I've had you and Jim on the show together, and we've talked about this. What do you think about that side? Do you think that is not out of possibility?
Well, I mean, as everybody knows that watches TV, that time travel is becoming the flavor of the month, talking about the possibilities and everything. There's a new show, I think it's on Monday nights, called Timeless. You can't rule it out because I can't tell you for sure what took place. I cannot say for sure what it was. I mean, did something from the future come back to the fields of Rendlesham Forest and have an interaction with us? I don't know. I mean, but you have the man, a United States colonel, saying it wasn't time travelers, it was ET. So what do you do with it?
Right. And the big word, right? You just brought up Bassett and disclosure and what is going on. What are your thoughts on that, full disclosure or partial disclosure? And will that change anything for you if it happens?
Well, if they actually opened up Bentwaters, held hearings on it, and divulged stuff, then there's some stuff I've never said or talked about, and this stuff started coming out, I would feel better about it, you know, depending on what they say. And a lot of it, I think, if it ever did happen, would be behind closed doors. So even if they had hearings, people wouldn't know what went on. But just admitting that something happened with Rendlesham that was classified would be quite a bit. Steve has pushed this forever. Good for him. He really thinks it should come out. Again, good for him. I'm not saying he's right or wrong, but what I will say is this, okay? The government is very good at what they do, and they don't tell you what's really going on. They'll tell you something, but they won't tell you everything. Did we have a chance if Hillary got elected? Maybe, but I think it had more to do with Podesta, and I think this is how it played out to me, and I've said this and I'll say it again. I think he had an interest in it. I think when he was Bill's chief of staff, he asked Bill if he could look into it. I think he got stonewalled, and I don't think he liked it. And I think he found out that there was stuff that he couldn't get at, and whether Bill tried or just said, leave it alone, I don't know. Then he set the stage with all the stuff that he was doing afterwards, including trying to get Obama to do something with it, and then trying to make it so Hillary would do it. Do I think the government's going to come out and open it up? I doubt it, because I'm a believer in this. We can't get along. The world can't get along. We're all about war. We're all about the society. As a society, we don't get along. We don't even get along in America. So what makes you think that if they admitted there was something else out there, how would we handle that?
Right.
I don't agree with people. I don't think until we can start learning how to take care of what we got in each other, why do you think we're going to accept or get along with something from somewhere else?
A couple of years ago, you and I were talking on the phone, and you said to me, you said, Jimmy, I want to get into radio, right? You remember that conversation?
Yeah.
And you said, I have something to say. What do you think? I said, John, you need to go for it. Just roll the dice. And you said, no, I'm being serious. And I was like, dude, go for it. Well, now you've been doing this for a while now. Do you think you've got your feet under you? And how are you doing with that? Are you happy with Phenomenon and Linda?
Oh, yeah, no, Linda is great. I mean, she's a Peabody. She's won a Peabody and Emmy.
Right.
She's been in this forever. She's a professional when it comes to radio and TV. And she brings so much to the table. I'm learning. And I mean, even like with you, Jimmy, Reese and I will talk about this. We only do 4 shows a month. I don't see how you can do 4 a week, trying to keep getting people on and keeping, it interesting and everything else. So it's hard and I'm learning, but I'm nowhere at the level of a Linda or you or anything else. But I've enjoyed it. And there's been a lot of times with the guests that we've had on, I've learned stuff. And understanding more about our technology and what we're dealing with. We had a guy on, last name, he's a scientist by the name of Evans, and he was with Green Glow. And he openly admitted, which had never been said before, that the stealth fighter, the F-117, was operational and flying over to UK in 1979.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is. And I'm learning stuff. So sometimes I don't even consider myself a host. I'm sitting there listening to these people talk, and I'm learning stuff myself. So I like it. I'm nowhere in your league or Linda's or anything else, but I'm enjoying it and I'm learning, and that's what's important.
Well, I say the same thing every single day, John. I'm here to learn too as well. And for you to say that, look, I've listened to you a lot, and I really enjoy the way that you're still a kid. I've heard you, just ask questions, and I'm just like, man, John gets it. And that's the best part of this is when you find out something and you're talking to somebody for the first time, or you're hearing things, and it just makes your mind go. And the whole trick is just ask the question that you're thinking about, and that's what you do. So congrats on that, man. And the show has been a huge success. And when can everybody listen to you?
We're on every Thursday night, and it's 8 to 10 Eastern on KGRA.
Right before me.
Yes, right before you. Fader night.
Fader night. Thank you so much, John. Yes. Be safe out there, and give my best to the family. Have a great, safe holiday season, and do everything that I would do. Go have a great Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, John.
I will. You too, Jimmy. Have a good Merry Christmas. Thanks.
You're the best, John. Thank you.
Thanks. Good night.
John Burroughs, everybody. Thank you so much, John. And I really mean this when I say this about John. He was there. Can you imagine? I am so jealous. He was there, both nights, man, right there. And to sit and talk to him, which I've done so many times, I can't do it enough. I'm serious, but I will. I promise all of you, and I hope John is listening right now. I'm going to get him drunk, and I'm going to find out that stuff. I will. He will be my source of information that I just can't talk about. John Burroughs. Thank you so much, John. And his show, Phenomenon Radio with Linda Moulton Howe, is absolutely fantastic, and it has just taken off. And Thursday nights right before Fade to Black. All right. The good news. The good news. It's previously been suggested that female doctors may provide higher quality of care than their male counterparts. We've heard those rumors, right? As they are more likely to stick to clinical guidelines and provide more preventive care, right? On top of all of that, however, a new study also found that female doctors working at hospitals have a lower 30-day patient mortality and readmission rates. I'm not making this up. In other words, their patients are less likely to die. Yeah, man. Researchers from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health looked at 1.5 million elderly Medicare patient hospitalizations between 2011 and 2014, focusing on 30-day death and hospital readmission rates. During the study period, patients who were treated by female internists had a slightly lower mortality rate, 11%, as opposed to 11.5%, and lower readmission rates, 15% compared to 15.5%, almost 15.6%, than those treated by male doctors. And you heard it here first. Is that the good news? That's the good news of the year, right? All right. Also, today, that's right, Facebook says now that they're applying warning labels to some fake news stories that users share on the social network. I haven't even been seeing news lately. Today, I did see a couple of people post saying that they had gotten flagged 3 different times for trying to share certain subjects. Articles that are known to be false, seemingly published with the intent to trick people, will now be marked with what Facebook is calling a flag. Below the headline, there will be a red label that says, disputed by third-party fact checkers. You know what's missing from this timeline and feed? You know what's missing? News. There's nothing there. It's kind of cool, though. I'm getting normal posts about Christmas trees and plates of food, right? Gone now, mysteriously, are these fake news stuff. Nothing is being shared. There's nothing there. There's nothing questionable. There's nothing that you can question. It's kind of weird, and it feels a little funky. But for me, I like my cat videos too. All right, so there you go. U.S. and British intelligence agencies have been surveilling cell phone use on commercial flights for years, and this is according to leaked documents from Edward Snowden. The obtained 2010 NSA newsletter started off with a riddle, and I'm quoting here. It says, "What do the president of Pakistan, a cigar smuggler, an arms dealer, a counterterrorism target, and a combating proliferation target have in common?" Right? That's the riddle. The answer to the riddle? They all use their everyday GSM phone during a flight. End quote. This was in the NSA document. Phones that are turned on when a plane is above 10,000 feet discloses your location to the NSA. Now, the next time you want to do that during a flight, right, you need to think about this, because this is also stated in the leaked NSA documents. Think about that. And I know what you're doing. You do it. We all do it, right? You're on a flight, man, and you just want to see if you can log into Twitter from 15,000 feet when nobody is looking. Well, you're letting the NSA know exactly what and where and who you are. Government Communications Headquarters, the GCHQ in Britain, and the NSA used bird names like thieving magpie and homing pigeon to refer to in-flight surveilling programs involving telephone calls. Government surveillance agencies can also extract data like email addresses, Facebook, Skype, and Twitter ID information during that flight. That data is then correlated with the flight and passenger information. Think about that, to zero in on you. Data collection was also conducted against BlackBerry phones as well. According to the report, agencies can also allegedly see what someone is doing on his or her phone, such as looking at their emails or using an app. Think about that for a second. The next time you're on a flight and you just want to check in to your Twitter account. Now, I'm going to leave you with this. Are you ready? The Federal Security Service, the FSB, has foiled a series of terrorist attacks in Moscow by a group of foreign fighters who are directed by the Islamic State. The group included nationals and Moldovan nationals plotted in a series of high-profile terrorist attacks in Moscow. But this is where it gets great. The FSB said it detained 4 members of the group, seizing automatic firearms, explosives, and parts for IEDs. When the FSB comes knocking, they don't play around. Somebody is going to answer for it. And the funny part about it is there's nothing in the news about what happened after that. And that's what happens when you're dealing with the FSB. Thank you, John Burroughs. One of the best shows ever, my brother. John Burroughs, the best. Phenomenon Radio, Thursday nights, right before Fade to Black on KGRA. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee Mark Dunbar Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew, the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I'll see everybody tomorrow night right here. Micah Hanks. Be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.